We've got a lot to do tonight. I really appreciate the fact that you were also willing to work with us last week and move everything in a timely manner, be respectful of each other. I'm looking forward to the same thing this evening. If not, we'll go another route, but hopefully we'll be able to do the same thing. So, real quick, for those of you that may have not been in the chambers before, we're going to open up with a public hearing for the appropriation special pays. We do not allow any outburst, interruptions. I do expect all of us to be respectful of each other and mind our time. You'll each get 3 minutes, even though we have even more speakers tonight. In consultation with council attorney, we're going to go ahead and stick to the 3 minutes. But again, if you don't need all 3 minutes, maybe you can get your message across quick. With that, whenever you're ready, sir. Good evening. Chair calls to order public hearing for Bill 25-003 Appropriation Special Pays. Council, we have Mr. Sandless with us this evening. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you. This is legislation that we generally bring forth every year around this time that deals with providing a supplemental appropriation, a transfer from fund balance to pay for retirement pays. The reason why we keep these retirement pays in a separate budget is because they can oftentimes have a significant impact on individual budgets, particularly the smaller ones. You don't always know exactly when people are going to be retiring, and so we separate them into more or less a separate bucket, if you will, separate budgets to handle these retirement payouts. And the reason we have the retirement payouts is when you do retire, you are eligible to receive any annual leave that you've accrued. You're also eligible to receive 50% of your sick leave. If you leave without a retirement, those expenses generally just stay within the budgets because they're much smaller, and the reason is because there's no sick leave payout for just regular separations if somebody takes another job or something like that. So with this, the amount is $1.3 million, and so this year, retirements in all funds are expected to be 76, and so that includes 62 individuals that have already retired and 13 that have filed retirement paperwork and with a retirement date this fiscal year. So of that 76 amount, 32 were part of the retirement incentive plan. And so for those who don't remember, who weren't here during last year's budget process, we provided for individuals that had 30 years of service and that agreed to retire before on March 1st, effective July 1st, that they would receive 100% of their sick leave payout. So we had 32 individuals that received the retirement incentive plan. So by fund, the breakdown, we have 56 retirements within the general fund, 5 in the highways fund, and 15 in water and sewer. Now this fund balance transfer only applies to the general fund, as the 2 other funds, highways and water and sewers, don't need any additional appropriation. So in the general fund, there are 45 retirements plus 11 expected retirements that total to 56, as I stated before. Of that number, 18 took the retirement incentives. And also we'll note that 20 of those individuals that make up that 56 work for the sheriff's office, and then there was 1 each in the attorneys and the courts, because they also receive the same the same payout when they retire. The original budget for this was $3.3 million, which was higher than we typically do because we built in for the retirement incentive, but we still had a lot of other additional retirements that were not part of that incentive plan. So with the completed and expected retirements, there is a budget shortfall of $1 million. This request is for $1.3 million, and that leaves us a little bit of cushion in case there's some other retirements. You have people that are still making their mind. Now, if they retire after July 1, it will hit the next fiscal year. So hopefully there won't be too many. But we've had a couple of surprise retirements lately. And so we'll see that this will provide us with a little bit of cushion here. So anything that we don't spend on this for those retirements, that would just fall back to fund balance. So it won't be used for anything else. And so hopefully, again, that $300,000 will just return back to fund balance. Big idea here really is that Harford County, as a county government, really grew a lot in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. We hired a lot of staff. A lot of those staff are now retiring, and that's why we've seen some rather large payout numbers over the past several years, because we've just had so many people now that are nearing and entering their retirement years.
Thank you, Mr. Sandless. Can you go over the numbers again?
Sure.
So start with the total amount.
So total amount, all retirements that we expect this year, 76.
Yes.
So, and that includes 62 that have already retired, they've already separated, and then there are 13 that have filed retirement paperwork. And so they're still employed right now, but they're intending to retire there. So we have 56 of those 76 are in the general fund, and then 5 in the highways fund, and then 15 in the water and sewer fund. And I can provide you with these numbers here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know that when we met earlier, you answered all the questions with the exception of that, and I know you were still gathering information, so
Yeah,
I
and again,
appreciate
it's all, I know we talked about this about a month ago, and so we've had a couple of additional retirements from that point. But yeah, this is as of today with the people that we know have filed their retirement paperwork.
Thank you. Council, at this time, anyone questions? Mr. Bennett?
Hello, good evening, good to be with you. Can you talk a little bit about, if you know offhand, or even if you can speak in generalities, like historic versus, like historically budgeted versus actuals for this for the past few years?
We typically have somewhat under budgeted, just because we don't want to take up appropriation if we don't need it. And if we ever found ourselves in a situation, we could always leave. What we would probably have to do in that deal is, if we had any budgets that were going to be really close, I would probably move those retirements to this budget, and then budgets that maybe had enough unspent, maybe because they had vacancies or things like that, I would leave within there. But we have seen, again, a big increase the past several years, just because we've had so many retirements.
I appreciate that. And then my other question is, if I understand this correctly, it will leave us with $4.8 million in unassigned fund balance, but if that $300,000 extra doesn't need to be spent, that will join that $4.8 million and maybe.
Yeah, along with all of the other, almost all of our budgets, because we can't overspend a
Right.
budget. There's savings in all the budgets, plus to the extent there's also additional revenues. So yeah, I'm not concerned at this point that about, because I know we're expecting additional revenues, and I know we're expecting additional savings. So I'm not too concerned that we're cutting that too close. But
Are you
yes.
able to give any spoilers for in about a week's time of what you think the unassigned fund balance will be?
It will, that is in the budget book, and we're still kind of finalizing the numbers. But again, we'll use some of that, like we do with every budget. We'll use some of that of that fund balance as part of the budget that's going to come over a week from today.
If you can't say the number, can you at least say the facial expression?
Yeah,
we'll make?
blink twice if it's bigger, and yes.
And then last question, when do you expect that bubble to kind of ride past of this, cohort of expansion employees where we have a large number of retirees? Like, how many more years?
That way.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of, and again, it varies according, by area. Of course, in some areas also you can retire, you can in law enforcement, or you can retire earlier than you can in other ways. And I can tell you from within my budget, I've seen, I probably have already gone through it in Treasury, so it kind of depends on the area. And it's probably a good question during the budget sessions for Tiffany Stevens in Human Resources about some of the things we've been doing with attrition. With succession planning, and the like.
It just seems like a good thing for us to map out to know how many years we need to sustain the extra, retirement costs.
And typically and this is true of a lot of governments, the concern has been sometimes that those middle years where if we're not holding on to people. For one, I don't know if we're going to have as many people that do 30 years in the same employer anymore. I mean, it's just nationally, you are seeing less and less of that. Of course, again, we have very dedicated staff here, and we have lots of people who will do that 30. So you're probably going to see less and less of that. But you're also going to get, so someone like myself, I came to Harford County government and I had 10 or 11 years of outside service. So in order for me to get my 30 to retire from the state pension, I only need to do 20 here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Giangiordano?
Robbie, good afternoon. Question for you. I know Mr. Patine's not here, so he probably is not going to be able to answer, or you're not going to be able to answer the question. But 15 out of water and sewer, that seems like a lot, highly technical positions. I know he's not here to answer that question. How many people do we have that work for water and sewer, and how many of those 15 are technical? I know we've had some,
Yeah,
I don't expect you to know the answer,
yeah,
but
but we can give, and I'll talk to Josie McAville-Patine and have them provide that. Now, do keep in mind that I can say that some of those were in Treasury because Treasury does the billing for water and sewer. So I believe 2 of them were in the Treasury part. Also skilled and technical in Treasury.
it still leaves 13.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That just jumped out at me at a little bit excessive for that department of water and sewer, and just trying to find out how many people you have left and where that stands. So.
Yep, and I mean, I do know that within water and sewer, I mean, they've been doing things with some signing bonuses, trying to recruit new people. We actually had quite a few people in water and sewer that had well in excess of 30 years, and they kept working kind of beyond that point. But yeah, I mean that idea of that brain drain is a big concern, and is why we're trying to remain competitive out there in the labor market. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giangiordano. Anyone else? Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
There is no one signed up, Mr. President.
Can't
Thank you,
believe it.
Mr. Salas.
Would have thought we would have had at least 2.
At this time, we're going to continue the public hearing for Bill 25. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you. We're going to conclude this public hearing for appropriation special pays 25003. But now, Mr. Grimm, we're going to continue the public hearing for Bill 25002. And Heather, let's stop people coming in from that door because of that table there. Send them the other way, please. Thank you. So, Mr. Grimm, I know you don't have anything to add this evening,
That's correct, sir.
but I do know that Mr. Bennett has a question or two for you.
Sure.
Yes, I appreciate you coming back this evening, and I emailed you my 2 questions in advance, just to help make sure you were prepared. But I just thought, based on the public comment we received last week, it's a good opportunity for us to get additional information from you in planning and zoning. I thought the first thing that might be helpful to communicate publicly is just with the proposed zoning change at the airport, if you could speak to how you all came to the compromise from planning and zoning that you are proposing in this legislation.
Sure. First, thanks for contacting me and sending me those. Unfortunately, I was in a doctor's appointment and couldn't call you back, but thank you for giving me those questions in advance. With the airport, the administration supports the airport and the mission of the airport, which also, in part, supports the mission of Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And so the county administration, specifically the county executive, supports the airport and also supports the use of ancillary type uses at the airport that are aviation in nature and other research and development opportunities that support the mission of the airport and the mission of Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
And specifically at that property, the area that you landed on changing GI is where the buildings are, not where the runway is. Is that correct?
That's correct. So on the original site plan, that is where the majority of those types of hangars are located and were constructed, and they can continue to construct those hangars in accordance with that site plan. Now, there are hangars on the other side of the airport that are used as well, and are still some that could be built in that area as well.
And would you feel comfortable speaking to why you said yes to that portion and no to the rest that was requested? Are you willing to give any rationale for that?
Sure. The area in question that we recommended rezoning for is the area really where those types of uses should be and are already located. The remainder of the airport will remain zoned ag as it is now. Airports, general aviation airports, are special exceptions, whether it's the ag district or the GI district. So regardless, it's still a special exception. So any change in zoning wouldn't necessarily change the nature of the airport runway and operations itself. It's just specifically for those areas, what I'll call the west side of the runway where the current hangars are located.
I think that's helpful information, because we hear a lot about the runway and the size of the runway, the length of the runway, so that's all very helpful to understand. My second question is, we've heard some comment about properties that aren't listed in this initial bill. I was wondering if maybe you could speak to what is allowed or permitted by the county code for addressing properties that weren't submitted through the initial bill, and what that would look like for a property that they didn't put an application in for.
Sure, I apologize, I don't have the specific code section site for you right now, but I know the section that you're referring to. It's a section, to my understanding, that is never specifically, in my tenure of managing or being a part of comprehensive rezonings since 2005, that I've ever had to really deal with. But as I understand it, that section of the code says that any issue that would be brought before council that was an issue that was not the subject of an application by a property owner requires the justification of the property owner.
And do you have the code?
I have the section, and Mr. Grimm's exactly correct. It's 26713D3. And that's the section under council action, which says if there is a property that was not applied for during the window of application with the Director of Planning and Zoning, and if that property would like council to make a change that was not in the director's report, the property owner must give justification to council to put an amendment in or make any kind of change.
And otherwise, it would have to come from planning and zoning?
It would have needed to come either by application, or if not by application, under the section that would allow the department to look at issues. But other provisions need to be complied with, notice to the property owner 30 days prior to the public hearing, all kinds of things. But once it's over at council, the property owner would have to give you written justification as to why they would want a change made when they failed to apply initially with the department.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you answering my two questions. I think it's good. One of the nice things about having two hearings is we were able to hear information and then go back to you based on what we heard. It's kind of a nice opportunity in that way.
No problem. I apologize again that I wasn't able to call you, but I hope I answered your question.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Anyone else of Mr. Grimm? Mr. Janter now?
Mr. Grimm, afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Let's go back to the airport. West side of the airport, is all that been permitted use since the last zoning review 10 years ago? All those hangars and everything, that's all been permitted use, or is that special exception that have been built?
I believe
guess?
I'm following your question. There were permits that were applied for under the last administration for specific uses on the property in those hangars.
Were they special exceptions?
No,
They were permitted uses in that area,
as I understand it, as the permits were issued.
but just in the last administration, not prior, not based on prior zoning.
Let's be clear, you're speaking about uses. There's two things here. There are actual uses, and then there are the hangars themselves. In some instances, there are hangars that are used for airplanes, and then others are used, have other types of uses in them as tenants.
Okay, so you can put a hangar, but you can put different uses in the hangar, and those uses in the hangar don't have to be special exceptions because the hangars are there?
Well, it depends on the use that's being proposed as a
And-
tenant
and-
space.
Okay, and nothing in those hangars had to be, they all fall under permitted use of what they're doing inside those hangars now?
Right, to the best of my knowledge, I was not here when some of those permits were applied for. It was when I was on my sabbatical.
Got you. So some of the conversation we hear all the time relates to the airport this and the airport that. Can you give us any more detail on that? Are those claims that have been made with the use on the airport and the buildings, is that something that has changed or not changed, or just trying to follow the the timeline of what's gone on there and how this seems like it's exploded in the use at the airport in the last couple of years, or maybe, last administration, this administration.
Apologize, but could you tell me what you're asking?
Trying to find out why it seems like the use at the airport has grown so much, but it seems like everybody's saying it's not permitted uses out there. So is there any truth to any of that some of this stuff was done without special exception or without permits for the use, I guess, from what you're saying, inside the hangars, or, what the hangars are being used for? And I understand you're saying that, part of that is APG, that they're using those, but I'm just trying to find out.
I didn't say that APG was a tenant. I said
What?
APG is supported by the uses at the airport.
And what does that mean?
Let me clarify something before we move on. There's only one speaker recognized before we go any further, okay? Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, there's not a permit that was applied for by APG or any specific command within APG. There are uses at the airport that are supporting the mission of the APG, and there's different commands at APG, specific to aviation-related industries.
Okay,
Is that it?
that's it, thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you.
Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
We do, Mr. President. We have 55 this evening.
Okay. Again, with 55 speakers, we're going to be here a while. We're going to go the 3 minutes per. I'm going to ask you again to be respectful of each other's time. Call your first speaker.
John Malamo, followed by John Gaffney, Holly Combs, and Greg Pisano.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and the application number you're speaking to.
Sir, good evening to you and your colleagues. John P. Malamo, 2402 Eagle View Drive, speaking to D018. D18 flips portions of the Harford County Airport property at 3538 Aldana Road to GI. D18 is not supported by Planning and Zoning's assessment, county code, or decision of case 5814. The principal permitted use of the entire property is a general aviation airport by special exception. All other activities are accessory uses. No use on the property is permitted by right. Zoning change to facilitate other commercial and industrial uses is irrelevant. Only those accessory uses identified in zoning case 5814 may be permitted. The zoning code confines the footprint of the commercial operation, including approach and landing pads. No more than 50% may be conducted in the ag district. Zoning case 5814 limits accessory uses. Only appropriate airport accessory uses shall be allowed, such as restaurants, snack bars, automobile rental agencies, schools, airline business offices, and service facilities, but no other business or commercial industrial uses are permitted. These provisions minimize the airport's impact on other properties. The Harford County Airport operation does not meet either of these conditions or requirements, now and never has. The final approach path alone at each end of the two active runways is 129 acres. Restated, at least 93% of the commercial operation is in the ag district. Plain text of zoning case 5814, parachute jumping activities and the drone activities are not allowed accessory uses and are unlawful. Neither County Executive Casserly nor the County Council have authority to modify the special exception. The airport's compliance with the law has always been an issue. The airport layout plan demonstrates compliance with MAA and FAA requirements. The site plan and operation plan demonstrates compliance with the zoning code, both constructed by the airport owners group. Neither shows consistency or compliance with the other. Approval of the special exception was always questionable. The airport owners group agreed to every requirement of the code and conditions of zoning case 5814. These are facts. Disagree? Bring your own facts. No court or administrative agency has offered any relief from the law or conditions of the special exception. County, state, and federal agency support for the airport does not matter. They do not have zoning authority and cannot change or interpret the decision of zoning case 5814. Please, do not go along with County Executive Casserly on his wild ride. It's not okay to ignore laws you don't like. apply special rules for some, and declare that's Harford County economic development. Integrity and accountability matter. So does doing the right thing. You passed the zoning code. The Board of Appeals decided zoning case 5814. That will not change. Do the right thing. Follow the law. Play by the same rules. Stand up for your constituents. Be the county council. Reject D18.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address and applicant number, please.
Good evening, council members. My name is Patrick Gaffney, and I live at 2501 Old Joppa Road in Joppa, Maryland, 21085. I oppose application B009 and support Bill 25-002 and the motion that no rezoning changes should be made to this land. We ask that no amendments be made to the bill regarding this parcel. My neighbors have asked me to speak for them, and this is the fourth public hearing at which I've done so, so please understand that I'm representing dozens of households in Joppa. At previous meetings, I've used legal and political arguments to oppose B009. I've mentioned things like the illegality of spot zoning and the inconsistent land use proposed in this application, the studies showing this area cannot handle more traffic, the Maryland mandate for more tree coverage and forest preservation, the loss of threatened and endangered species in Harford County, the destruction of wetlands and toxic runoffs from light industry, the merciless impact on the Gunpowder and Bird Rivers this could have. I've compared what could happen to this land to the ecological disgrace known as Ridgely's Reserve and the impact on well water and the farmland at stake. You've heard these reasons, but now I'll mention a handful of comments from my neighbors which simply reflect their concerns. This land is beautiful forest and wetlands and home to so many animals. It's essential for a healthy ecology. Leave it alone. An industrial park could contaminate our water supply. There's no room for extra traffic. There's nowhere for trucks to pass each other or turn around. There are no sidewalks or emergency lanes here. This is where our children walk to the school bus and play. Increased traffic would endanger people. The animals would be forced to escape by running across Mountain Road or I-95, getting killed and causing major accidents. Using this land for rural and agricultural purposes is best for sustainability. There would be 24/7 noise and light pollution. It would bring litter and trash. It makes no sense. There are so many unused lots and buildings in the county already. Increased traffic would bring unwanted people cruising our neighborhood just looking for something to get into. It would open our neighborhood up to crime, robberies, and worse. Our children would not be safe against strangers roaming around. Our property values would plummet. Rezoning this parcel will destroy our peaceful way of life. This is why we moved here. This is not the place for business. It should be left as agricultural. Won't this just cause more flooding? It already takes forever to get onto Mountain Road in the morning. There's not going to be any trees left if Harford County doesn't stop the construction. I didn't think you were allowed to destroy wetlands. And lastly, the kid next door wants to know where the box turtles will go. Where will everything live? So these are just some of the comments from our neighborhood discussions. Most people can't even believe this application is being considered. Please stand behind me, my neighbors, those concerned for the earth and the environment, and the people who just feel that this application for rezoning is completely out of place. Say no to rezoning of B-009. Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
nice
sir.
evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Holly McComas, 1826 Park Beach Drive, and I'm also going to speak for Greg Pisano. We're going to yield our time. You have our testimony. We spoke last week. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
John Seaman, followed by Florian Sivak, Dan Lambros, and Ann Kula Izvica.
Hello, my name's John Seaman.
Sir, you need to step up to the microphone, please.
Okay, thank you.
Be careful now.
I'm all right. My name's John Seaman, and I've been a resident.
I need
of
your
this
address, sir.
Address 2604 Green Spring Avenue West, Joppa, Maryland, 21085.
Thank you, sir. And just the application number that you're speaking to.
I'm opposing what Patrick said, or I'm agreeing with him, but I'm opposing B009.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, with that in mind, I've been a resident of this county for about 58, 60 years, somewhere around there. And I'll leave you with this thought. With that in mind, excuse me, with all these people, but with that in mind, many years ago when I came out here, and I'm not getting involved in that, but I came out here, and as what my previous speaker said, he said about the pristine, and I came out here and I basically thought it was beautiful, the trees and what have you, but in the interim of time, I would imagine, and it's just shame, I used to see frogs. I don't see frogs anymore. I used to see box turtles. I don't see box turtles anymore. So what I'm trying to make an emphasis to the people is this. I oppose that bill. And if you don't do something, and I'm giving everybody, your children and your grandchildren are going to suffer, because what it is, you're polluting, and it's the governments, the local, and I'm not trying to be smart, but it's the local governments, the federal governments. I was a captain in the fire department for about 38 years in Baltimore County. So I've seen quite a bit in pollution. And what I'm trying to tell you people is, if something isn't done, if you keep this bill you're trying to pass, it's going to really foul everything, because what Patrick said is true. We don't have any. You try to get on Mountain Road, and Mountain Road, you can't. It took me a half an hour to get here from my house because the traffic, it's so congested, and because there's only one lane on Mountain Road each way, and you had to go. But what I'm going to emphasize, I'm about to finish. If you get a chance, I think what you people should do, really what you should do, the people to do the work here, the people, the maintenance people who works for the county, go and ask them about the pollution it causes. Like I said, it's a lot of pollution. And what I'm trying to say to you
Sir,
is...
if I may, I'm going to ask you to bring your comments to a close.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for your passion, and thank you for your service in the fire.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say anything else?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
We heard you loud and clear, sir.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Where's Patrick?
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Florian Svitak, 1409 Calvary Road, Abingdon, Maryland. I'm here to speak about F001. I am in support of the planning and zoning recommendation to keep the zoning as it is and to not agree to the request to upzone. The reason is I have lived near this property for a long time, and it's important to remember that the Bynum Run flows through this land. It's important to remember that a major section of the land is in the Chesapeake Bay critical area. It is also an historic place. By the way, we just celebrated the Bush Declaration a few weeks ago. My main concern is environmental. With the Bynum, Chesapeake Bay critical area, all of this is lowland. And if we experience hurricane and storms that suddenly come, and as we are now experiencing heavy rains in a serious limited amount of time, you will have extensive flooding on this parcel. Philadelphia Road is closed, if any of you are familiar with this, with floods, same as the James closes the Philadelphia Road. These are real concerns. Climate change is real. We need to look at certain places and realize it's not a good idea to build. There are traffic issues, one on the west side. All traffic coming out of that parcel will have to travel on the neighborhood streets, small roads to handle development, not a main artery. With R2, you would have more housing, and you will also have more impervious surface, which is really what you don't want on this land, again, because the Bynum is right there, and the Bush River is just across the Philadelphia Road. So I would urge you all to follow the planning and zoning recommendation and leave it at R1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Dan Lambros, F001. Ladies, gentlemen, I own the property. As you know, some of my neighbors are concerned that bumping from R1 to R2 would create an environment for townhouses. As you all know, R2 doesn't really allow townhouses in Harford County. So, however, what it would allow is an environment where a practical financial viability of the project would work. I've farmed the land for several years. It's just really not viable at this point. I take my tractor, I got hit by a bus. My son did in the tractor. I've got run into the bridge on Route 7. I think it's time for me to move off of that parcel, or at least figure out another way to deal with it. R2 zoning would give me greater density, providing smaller lots and more open space, a village environment. R1 in its present zoning adversely affects the financial viability and creates larger tracts, larger lots, less open space, more urban sprawl. R2 would give people really what they want. People don't want large lots today. They rather have a smaller environment where it creates a neighborhood. Not like the 80s and 90s where we had large lots, and smaller lots are what's actually more desirable today. The R2 would create a more cohesive zoning. To the south, we have townhouses on Harford Town Drive. To the west, just across 95 on Hooker's Mill, at Bynum Overlook, we have R2. To the east, northeast, we have James Run, R3, apartments, townhouses. I don't think there's a single family in the area. R2 zoning is a progression of where this, and it's a donut. I've got townhouses to the south, single families to the west, more townhouses and apartments to the northeast. It's a parcel sitting there that should be developed. Yes, there is wetlands on it, but it's not all wet. A significant portion is not wet. So the wetlands would provide open space. Can't be built on. I'm not asking to build on it. Now, it would provide the housing of type that people want today. And I just think you should reconsider and look at the R2 zoning. Now, D18 for the airport. If you're not sure what the permitted use is, I think it's time for a field trip. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Ann Kulishevitz, 113 Rhinefort Drive. I'm here about E001. Good evening, council members. I am here tonight on behalf of 3 generations of my family who currently reside at 113 Rhinefort Drive to express our opposition to issue E-001. I spoke about our opposition to this issue at the Planning Advisory Board hearing in November, and I was pleased to see that the concerns that were raised were taken into consideration for the recommendation to oppose this issue and not rezone this land as part of the 2025 Comprehensive Zoning Assessment Report. I am respectfully asking the council tonight to concur with the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Board and the Department of Planning and Zoning, who both agree that this land should not be rezoned for a variety of reasons, including traffic safety concerns, inconsistency with the land use map, and lack of access to water and sewer services. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lindsay Crone, followed by Grant Amadeus, followed by Melvin Hager and Robin Hawks.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address and applicant number, please.
Yes, Lindsay Crone, 7320 Greenbank Road, which is in Chase, in B009. I do live in Baltimore County. However, decisions in Harford County directly impact our shared river, the Gunpowder. I also co-chair an environmental group that is mainly made up of residents from Harford County. I want to thank you for your dedication and the vital role you play. Your time, effort, and commitment to ensuring fair and thoughtful development are truly appreciated. As you consider B009, I ask you to reflect on these key points. The property lies outside the current development envelope. It lacks essential sewer, water, and road infrastructure. The surrounding area is zoned agricultural. 2 historic sites are located on the property. It would place additional strain on an already overburdened mountain road. It drains into an already impacted Gunpowder River. And maybe, most importantly, the proposed zoning is inconsistent with the county's land use map and the character of the neighboring community. Rejecting changes like B009 ensures that our policies remain consistent, fair, and reflective of the community's character. Approving light industrial zoning for this property would be inappropriate and could cause lasting harm to the surrounding community. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration and for continuing to serve as stewards for Harford County's future.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Name is Grant Amadeus Giel. My home address is 11 Nightingale Way, apartment C5, Lutherville, Timonium, Maryland. I'm speaking on application D0018. I'm here from the Law Office of G. Macy Nelson, speaking today in concert with and on behalf of various citizens opposed to the expansion of the Harford County Airport. The airport is considered part of the Churchville-Creswell chapter of the Harford Next Master Plan. It is nearly 2 miles away from the next closest light industrial parcel, which is used for the University of Maryland Medical Center, and 4 miles from the next closest general industrial parcel, which is currently parkland near a small Methodist church. The next closest general industrial parcel is over 6 miles to the north at the Conowingo Hydrological Station. There's essentially 0 meaningful industrial scale land anywhere within a 10-plus mile radius of the site. The land only ever existed as it did in the form of a functionally grandfathered use from the 1940s that was expanded via special exception in the early 2010s in case number 5814. And special exception is the only method by which it should be expanded any further, if at all. Page 98 of Harford Next states that one should, quote, ensure improvements to existing facilities are consistent with the character of the community they serve. How does the rezoning for general industrial use serve an almost exclusively rural/residential agricultural community set distinctly away from all major population centers with no identified road infrastructure or even bus routes, where all other industrial scale activity is miles away? Page 93 through 95 sets forth the functional classification of road networks and both existing and planned future updates. There are 2 other airport locations to the northwest and southwest of Bel Air, 300% closer to it than the Harford Airport, and both of which are served by MTA express bus routes. If the council finds that this county needs additional air traffic, such expansion should be contemplated in those locations that have existing infrastructure to support them. Churchville's population dynamics are set out on page 124. 63% of its land uses as of 2016 was agricultural and 21% residential. A mere 1.3% of total land use was industrial and or commercial. Nearly all industrial land in the locale was at the Harford County Airport. As stated on page 126, quote, The continuation of agriculture remains important to the community, and business and industrial uses are limited. Any development in full potential for existing businesses is supported only, quote, as long as the development is compatible with surrounding development and the agricultural character of the area. The Planning Advisory Board recognizes conflict between nearby land uses and voted unanimously to disapprove the rezoning. DPZ suggested instead that a 27.3 acre portion of the full proposal be approved. We think this is still inappropriate, as the airport has already historically operated without sufficient mitigation to shield neighbors of its deleterious effects and should not be given carte blanche to expand operations. Mr. Grimm's recent presentation suggests that non-special exception tenant uses are operating on the AG parcels, and more such uses with greater impacts to neighbors would be allowed under GI rezoning without regard to special exception restrictions. This should not be allowed. The airport should be bound to its prior arrangement and existing buildings limited to uses in AG or their limits of the special exception. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please, and the applicant number.
My name is Robin Hawks. I live at 3602 Aldina Road, and I'm here to strongly oppose D-108, 01, yeah, 01. The airport is basically in my backyard with hanger lights shining into bedroom windows. As you have heard from many other neighbors, we have had 10 years of continuous stress and noise from the airport. Planes flying day and night, helicopters that hover over your home and wake you in the middle of the night. Drones that fly over the road low enough that you feel they're coming into your windshield. There's a fear that an aircraft will crash into your home, especially with the flight school there. The planes that are flying into the airport may not be insured, so homeowners would be impacted with that cost. Does it make sense to have a large airport in the middle of a rural area? I think not. I was informed by an appraiser that there's a great potential that home values will be decreased due to the airport activity. Should we have to pay the price for unneeded and unwanted growth? The owners and managers do not live in the area, so why do they care? Please follow the recommendations of the planning board and deny the request in its entirety. Show us that you are a council that cares about its people, not just big companies with big money. This county is growing too large and has overcrowded schools. It does not appear that any consideration has been taken in this regard. Having crowded classrooms, uncertified teachers should not even be an option. I'm begging you to think of the future of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Melvin Hager. Mark Kaplan, followed by James Thomas, Luann Calvin, and Oba Olu.
Call that first speaker again, Melvin who?
Hager.
Call the second speaker again.
Mark Kaplan.
Good evening, sir. Name and address and applicant number, please.
Certainly. Good evening. I'm Mark Kaplan, 6 Cotswold Road, Baltimore, Maryland. I am here speaking tonight in favor of issue number F004. I'm the managing member and an investor in 1200 Brass Mill Holdings, LLC. Brass Mill owns the Perkins Place apartments immediately adjacent to the property known as issue number F-004. Allowing our zoning to change from B1 to R4 will allow us to continue the success that we have experienced at Perkins Place. Issue number F004 is designated under the 2016 Master Land Use Plan as M1, MI, medium intensity. MI is defined as areas within the development envelope where residential development is the primary land use. Our request is consistent with the land use plan. Under Section 267-55 of the Harford County Zoning Code, the R4 zoning designation is part of the urban residential districts. Under the code, the R4 district is to accommodate urban residential needs by providing a wide range of densities and building types. Perkins Place and its extension are principally permitted within the R4 zoning district. Please note that issue number F-004 is surrounded on all sides by R4 properties. In fact, the property was previously zoned R4 prior to 1997. I note the 3 schools servicing Perkins Place are well under capacity. Church Creek Elementary School at 88%, Aberdeen Middle School at 65%, Aberdeen High School at 85%. I thank the Planning Advisory Board for unanimously recommending the R4 zoning request. I also thank the Department of Planning and Zoning for recommending the same. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is James Thomas. I live at 2315 Pleasantville Road. Speaking in favor of B005, the Thomas Sawmill. I understand a lot of people are concerned about keeping the rural legacy of Falston. am well aware of keeping the rural legacy of Falston. I'm a farmer. I understand the troubles we go through on the roads and in the community. What my family is trying to do is encompass the existing improvements, the buildings we have that are zoned in RR into B1, to encompass our entire property of buildings that are used in the sawmill business into B1. The rest of the property will remain RR and remain farmed as long as I'm able to farm it. I thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address?
Luann Calvin, 1500 Glenville Road. I'm speaking about D018. First off, I have to say that I was a little shocked that it appears there's a lack of knowledge about the history of the property in question. I kind of feel like there should be records about what was done in a past administration. I just want to point out that the roads leading to this airport are one way up, one way back, no shoulder. When I first moved to my house, I didn't even know there was an airport. Now, I can't get past it. It's nonstop planes, parachutes, training, planes flying around, helicopters that make my windows rattle. What really concerns me is the idea that we would permit general industrial use of this property. Does that now mean that Amazon can have 18-wheelers going into this hangar? Or Amazon drone delivery? I feel like we need to really start thinking a little bit more about what we're hearing about what's going on in the county right now. When I first moved here from Baltimore County, which had an explosion of growth, one of the things that struck me is I felt like people were consciously understanding that it needed to be planned. And then all of a sudden it just seemed like it was an explosion. You cannot travel 22 at certain times of the day without sitting in ridiculous traffic. 155 is the same way. And I just want to throw this out here. Why does APG need to have anything to do with this airport? They have their own airport. Please consider carefully the impact on the people that live here and not balance the needs of the few on the backs of the many. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
ma'am. Thank you. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Obafemi Oluwasola. I live at 1705 Watman Road, Edgewood, Maryland. So I'm here to speak on A006 of 1309 Edgewood Road. So a few years ago, about year 2020, I moved into Harford County. I was single, then I got married here. I started a family. I'm a father of 2 or 3 years, under 3 years. So we decided to do a business in Harford County, trying to have a business nearby. And we want to call Harford County our home county. So we started trying to do a small-scale bakery whereby I can put my special recipe of bread on market. So we started trying to look into current commercial properties, trying to see if we can get a shop to try to do something. But unfortunately for us, we were unable to settle because most of the commercial owner, they have too much request because we're going to make a lot of modification to the property. So they were like trying to micromanage my business, our business, of which we can't afford. So we have to start working with the Harford County, try to see if we can get a property that we can use for this goal. And we can gradually start and build it up to have a family business. So I was working with the Harford County trying to ask them what are my alternatives. So I was working with them on Route 40, trying to get a property on Route 40. Most of the current commercial property on Route 40, they are complicated to develop or to use due to the high water level and stormwater management. And technically, there are a lot of erosion on some of the lots, which means we're going to need a lot of fillings. So fortunately for me, this property at 1309 came on market. This property is on Edgewood Road, very behind a dealership, opposite to Jones Farm. So I thought about, oh, this is going to complement my need, our need. So I work with the Harford County trying to make inquiry if this is possible for me to run my business, which is a little bigger kitchen to run my bakery. So they said it's possible, and I was also given the information that that I have opportunity to do zoning review. I put in an application, and recently they said they are not making any change. I've attended all the old public hearing. Nobody opposed this property, so I believe why am I now be denied? Harford County happened to be the first contact just to know if I'm doing the right thing. They gave me a thumbs up, but now they're turning it down with nobody opposing it. So I'm pleading with you, if you can look into this for me. All my resources have been deployed into this property on the sake that I really want to build a business.
Sir, please bring your comments to a close. I'll have a conversation with Ms. Robert. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Jean Leitner, followed by Deborah Rockwell, Doug Rockwell, and Joe Barrow.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Gene Leitner, 310 Prospect Mill Road, Bel Air, Maryland, 21015. I'm here this evening to support the legislation as presented for no change to the rezoning applications for parcels E07 and E09 as confirmed by the PAB Board along with the Department of Zoning. I've attended all the public hearings and was the only member of the public that attended all the Planning Advisory Board meetings over the past couple of months. For me, this has been a very transparent process, as during those meetings I heard open discussion between the PAB and the Department of Zoning on all 65 applications. While not in total agreement on all 65 applications, both the PAB and Zoning presented supporting information on their decision on each application. For all the applications presented, only a small portion moved forward to council and legislation. Where the council work begins is to make decisions on those few applications presented at by the PAB and Zoning where a difference of perspectives was or had significant public opposition. On the other hand, any amendment brought forward by the council to upzone a property not mentioned in the legislation after it had been carefully reviewed by the PAB, Department of Zoning, and the county executive would raise many questions about the logic or motive behind such an amendment by a council member. I appreciate the opportunity by the council to hear public input on the comprehensive rezoning and the many hours put forth by the PAB along with Shane Grimm's department in the review of each of these applications. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
I'm Debbie Rockwell. I live at 37 Bramble Lane. I'm opposing the rezoning of Lot E001 from residential to business. I'm addressing chiefly here the safety concerns. 25 years ago, I was in a bad accident trying to make a left-hand turn into the neighborhood. I was completely stopped, and I was hit by a distracted driver. Many of my neighbors in intervening years have told me they have had similar close calls. There have been other accidents. The easiest and the cheapest way to prevent something like this from happening is to avoid additional causes for distraction. Putting a business at this location directly on the corner is going to be a huge distraction for people coming in, and I can almost guarantee there will be more accidents. So I'm asking that you oppose it and leave the property alone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm
Good evening,
Doug
sir.
Rockwell. That's my wife.
I live the same place, 37 Bramble Lane in Churchville, and I'm going to talk about Echo 001. But I'd like to add that my wife got taken away in a helicopter to shock trauma. Fortunately, the head of the emergency management agency at that time was a couple cars behind, and he called it in immediately. There's so much traffic on Route 22 that a major accident gives a major risk of catastrophic consequences. I can't repeat everything I've said and written before, but it's in the written record. I do have one new issue. This land is crossed by a lot of surface water, including runoff from both sides of Route 22, which is, of course, polluted. If someone were allowed to build a well, there is the ever-present danger that any defect or deterioration in the well casing would allow the aquifer to become polluted. It didn't perk many years ago when the development of Bramblewood was created. It has major surface water issues. It's outside the development envelope. B3 from rural residential is just ridiculous. That would certainly be spot zoning, which you want to avoid. Churchville is a rural village. On the other side is Harford Community College. That side is being built up to the edge of the development envelope. We certainly have no need for spot development any further up and down Route 22. It would certainly exacerbate the traffic problems. Let's see, I've got a minute left. Turning movements. The school bus that goes to Churchville will not make a left-hand turn. It goes to Rhineford, makes a right-hand turn, goes down to Campus Hill Shopping Center, turns around in their parking lot, and uses the existing traffic light to make a left-hand turn. That's how bad the traffic is during rush hour. It's impossible to make a left. There's many underutilized commercial properties already in existence between Churchville and the community college. That's most of what I have to remind you of. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Joe Barrow, 4327 Federal Hill Road Street, Maryland. I'm here for the D011, D004, D005 in Jarrettsville.
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat those again?
D011, D004, D005.
Okay.
I'm returning, I was here last week, but to make the recommendation again against these applications, maintaining what's in the bill. Part of my concerns were heightened by the comments by the property owners last week. For example, the one on D004, D005, where it says, I'm not going to, it's a small change, I could just put in offices. I'm not doing anything major. Of course, that's, all the intentions may be altruistic. Changing the zoning does not guarantee future owners will not take advantage of it. And it opens the door. The other owner, also appealed to our, hey, we want to help the Lions Club and the flea market, and obviously you didn't mention it, but the sunflowers or whatever. All those are non-zoning related issues. They're actually, they could be reallocated or could be subdivided. But that whole area, even if you go through, let's say anyone that sold that, the Lions Club would no longer be able to afford it if the zoning went through. So it's kind of a moot point in that regard. And both of them kind of appeal to, hey, it's only fair. The zoning setbacks are I'm just going equal with my neighbors, or my other neighbors can do this type of thing. Well, the fairness is really, a lot of us that bought and lived there invested in the current zoning and master plan that's there. Whether it looks fair or not on a map, that's what we bought in that area. And, and I understand that these owners, are really seeking to maximize the value, and there's nothing about that, and try to benefit the community. But the benefits to the community really arise from the comprehensive master plan process. And we really should kind of support that, right? If there's really going to make these changes, we should really go through that process and not through like one-off meetings. Or, a lot of people, many residents are passionate, and a lot are here, but they don't have the opportunity to attend chamber meetings. So the master plan process does work through that. So, I'm an advocate for keeping the current zoning, rejecting the applications, and I'm urging you not to reject any amendments that may come up as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Ron Stuczynski, followed by Matt Sadowski, Lee Maddox, and Chip Riley.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please. Applicant number.
Good evening, Council. Ron Stuczynski, 319 Marina Avenue.
part of the 3P group. Good evening. I'm here in opposition to Bill F-002, upzoning, and to support amending AG zoning for the Mitchell Property Farm, Bill 25-002. I've lived in Aberdeen and Perryman all my life. I've worked in Baltimore City for 32 years and traveled daily. The reason my wife and I chose to continue to live here and not in the city is very simple: county life. I once again would like to talk about our water concerns, specifically the Perryman wellhead and what it means for Harford County. 30% of the county water comes from our wellheads, which roughly serves 85,000 residents across our county. We continue to pave over a drinking water source. If we keep allowing runoff from massive warehouses and the diesel trucks, which I note constantly run through our community illegally, to contaminate our recharge zones, we are walking down the same path as Flint, Michigan did. I have repeatedly over the past few years hammered this point to county officials and county council over and over again. It doesn't help that the city of Aberdeen just built an illegal truck stop just 300 yards away from a nursing home on the city line with Perryman. It also doesn't help that we've had no water study done in almost 30 years now. I sit here still wondering why this has continued to be ignored by our county. It's not like there haven't been contaminants found in our wells before, considering the 10 million square feet of warehousing that's already been built. Between the runoff at APG, I don't understand how these studies aren't required daily, or yearly, I'm sorry. We asked developers when our fight first started, and our lawyers, how this would reduce even more harmful chemicals and diesel exhaust from our community. And we were told by them, and I quote, "There is no plan." Flint, Michigan's problem didn't happen overnight. It happened because government officials continued to ignore their citizens' concerns. Now they have residents who are still sick. As many as 13 have died. 4 of those city officials sit in jail to this day because of their negligence. Perryman and other parts of our county are on a crash course down the same road. As we have stood up here and said over and over again, we've asked you to rezone the Mitchell Farm and surrounding parcels to agricultural as it belongs, not to block progress, but to protect the public, protect our water, protect the integrity of the county's planning process. The development envelope is getting full, and when envelopes get stuffed full, they cost more. And the cost here is the livelihoods and the safety of our residents, not only inside the envelope, but also surrounding it. It's time to close this envelope. Don't let Perryman become a case study in what went wrong, but instead let it be an example of what can go right when our leaders listen and act. Mr. County Executive, don't ignore us like the past executive did. Amend your bill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Matt Sadowski, 1009 Aldino Stepney Road, Aberdeen, Maryland, 21001. I want to speak to issue E003. I have owned and lived on this land since 1996. I built a house and raised our children. My land abuts the original heat center lands on Technology Drive. I have known for a long time that they were going to build something. I just didn't know what or when. In 2004, in the 2004 Land Use Master Plan, and in every Land Use Master Plan since, the heat center area has been defined as encompassing the area from I-95 on the east, Aldino Stepney Road on the west, and Route 22 on the north. This definition encompasses my land. Every property owner who has requested rezoning in this defined heat center area has been granted light industrial zoning. The zoning maps bear this out. During the 2009 comprehensive rezoning, 22 acres of land directly to my north was granted light industrial zoning. This land was in almost identical circumstances to my own, yet they were recommended for a zoning change and my lands are not. I want to read a quote from the 2009 Planning Advisory Board summary on the issue. It was issue E005 at that time. The vote was unanimous to recommend a zoning change to LI. Mr. Gutfeld explained, LI promotes mixed-use projects and provides the opportunity for some retail services uses while maintaining the integrity of the heat center designation and intent of the land use plan. I mentioned I've been waiting for the lands to my east to be developed. Now they are. Harford County has approved the building of large warehouses, and one of those warehouses goes right up to my east property line. My neighborhood is changing. In working with the developer, he has agreed to provide easements to my property for water and sewer. In the interest of fairness, I request Harford County follow their own land use master plans, and follow the precedent set by previous administrations and councils and grant my request. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. Lee Maddox, 1700 Church Point Court, Perryman. I am here in opposition to F002 upzoning and to respectfully urge you to amend Bill 25-002 to rezone the Mitchell Farm and nearby parcels to agricultural. I have lived in Perryman since 1998. Let me start with the law. This council has been given the authority to make zoning changes in the public interest. And as we were reminded last week and again today, that authority can be exercised at any time for any area of the county. This moment is one of those times. We are not asking for a favor. We are asking for a correction. The Mitchell Farm was zoned agricultural, then changed to industrial decades ago based on speculative development plans that never materialized. It's never been developed, and it's still being farmed today. It is surrounded by homes, churches, wetlands, and public drinking recharge zones. Some in planning and zoning have argued that this land is designated for industrial use on the current land use map, and that because of that, rezoning to ag would be inappropriate. But zoning is meant to reflect the facts on the ground, not override them. To say that the land can't be rezoned simply because the land use map says industrial is to confuse a guide with a guarantee. And that turns the entire purpose of zoning on its head. By P&Z's own words, this process is meant to correct anomalies and align zoning with current use. And the current use of the Mitchell Farm is not industrial, it is agricultural. More importantly, P&Z continues to grant residential permits for new homes both adjacent to and in close proximity to the Mitchell Farm. If this area were truly considered industrial, those permits would not issue. So which is it? You have the authority to correct this and the responsibility to do so. The land use map is a guide, not a barrier. It cannot override your duty to act in the public interest. This is your opportunity to do exactly what this process is designed to do, fix a long-standing zoning mistake. Perryman has already carried more than its share of freight, noise, traffic, and broken promises. The Mitchell Farm remains one of the last intact places because we have protected it. Now we're asking you to do the same. All of you have toured Perryman, you've visited, you've stood beside us, you've heard our vision, and you know this community is not asking for the impossible. We're asking for integrity, we're asking for consistency, we're asking for the courage to do what you are fully authorized to do. We are asking the Mr. County Executive to work with this council, amend the bill, rezone the Mitchell Farm to ag, correct the anomaly, honor the facts, vote with the people who have stood with this land for decades. Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, for the record.
Hey, good evening. Chip Riley, 1911 Park Beach Drive. I am here in opposition to F-002 upzoning and to support amending AG rezoning for Mitchell Farm. I am requesting the County Council to amend the bill to rezone the Mitchell Farm and to adjacent light industrial parcels in Perryman to agriculture. This change would reflect actual land use, reduce infrastructure strain, and promote more consistent, balanced planning throughout District F. I'm asking the county executive to please amend this bill. I'm a retired fire marshal and someone who spent a career thinking about what happens when things go wrong and how to keep people safe when they do. My father, Charlie Riley, dedicated his life to this county. Many of you knew him. I do my best to carry that legacy forward through public service and through a nonprofit foundation in his name and memory that helps fund scholarships for young people right here in Harford County. I'm not here to get political. I'm here to talk about public safety and infrastructure reality. The roads in Perryman are not built for the industrial load they're carrying now, let alone more. And when you combine that with increased emergency response times, poor truck routing, and rare wear on local neighborhoods, we're creating a system that's not just inefficient, it's downright dangerous. I know how fast things can go wrong, and when emergency vehicles are delayed because of overloaded roads and block crossings, seconds matter. That's why I'm asking you to take a step back to rezone the Mitchell property and nearby parcels to agriculture, and to align our land use with the infrastructure we actually have, not the infrastructure we keep being promised. Let's protect the people we serve. Let's make decisions that future leaders and future first responders won't have to clean up later. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
William Rossbach, followed by Ben Rigdon, Bo Jarrett, and Bob Johnson.
Good evening, sir. Name and address and applicant number, please.
William Rossbach, 2606 Kenwood Drive, Joppa 21085. Is here in opposition of B009. This parcel, this property on Franklinville Road. Franklinville Road's a really small, narrow, winding neighborhood road that is in a constant state of disrepair because it can't handle the traffic that's already on here. And we're asking the people in our neighborhood that the folks on the council have the power to stop this, don't allow this to go on. The overdevelopment's killing Harford County. If you're trying to go from Route 40 to Bel Air Road, using 152 in the evening, you better pack a lunch. Same way on Old Joppa, 24, the traffic's really, really bad in this area. Developing this parcel is not going to benefit Harford County in any way. It's just going to destroy our neighborhood. I came up here from Essex 35 years ago to get away from what's happening here now. We came here to hear birds, not sirens, and see cows and deers and not apartment complexes and industrial park. I'm asking the council to use your power. Don't let this happen to our neighborhood. Thank you for helping us.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please. Applicant number.
My name is Ben Rigdon. I reside at 2001 Glenville Road, Darlington, Maryland. I will be speaking about the properties D4 and D5. These two properties are more accurately identified as 3740 and 3738 Norrisville Road and located east of Schuster Road, directly across from the Jarrettsville Lions Club Carnival Grounds in the village of Jarrettsville. Before I begin, I would like to introduce myself to you. I have lived my entire 70 years in Harford County, having grown up on the family farm in Jarrettsville. I am a direct descendant of Alexander Rigdon, a signer of the 1775 Bush Declaration. My family has been in Harford County for generations prior to this. The home farm in Jarrettsville was deeded as a land grant to the Rigdon family from Lord Calvert during the late 1600s. I am the current owner of two farms in Jarrettsville, totaling in excess of 400 acres. These farms I have put into Harford County's Ag Preservation Program. I am currently not here to destroy the integrity nor the beauty of Jarrettsville, or for that matter, Harford County. Please consider strongly and with an open mind the rezoning of these two properties from village residential to village business. You can certainly see we are not asking for a major zoning change. The proposed change in zoning would result in a very limited impact, if any, on the present village area. Village residential allows for a private residence. Village business allows for a small business or small office, such as a doctor's office, lawyer's office, etc. Currently, I am the landlord of these two properties. Keeping that in mind, please consider that the residents in this section of the village will create more traffic 7 days per week versus a small office 5 days a week. As many as 5 people, all with cars per residence, have lived in these homes. These two properties would definitely be much more compatible to what surrounds them and what is now there. Starting from the west side of this property are Jarrettsville Elementary School, Jarvis Appliance Company, a dentist's office. To the east side of these properties, there's the Harford County Sheriff's Precinct Office, a Jarrettsville Pharmacy, Harford County's Public Library, a Dunkin' Donuts, Jarrettsville Federal Bank, and finally at the intersection of Norrisville Road and 165 is Keen Dodge's Body Shop. I am asking for a very, very simple zoning change, and again, with a very little impact, if any, to what is there now. The zoning change I am requesting doesn't allow for a convenience store, gas station, or anything resulting in greater traffic in that area, thank God.
This is a very simple and a common sense request for a change of zoning. I truly cannot understand the planning and zoning's non-acceptance to this request. I am not sure that what factors were taken into consideration for this request, other than the fact that I was advised by planning and zoning that all requests
please
for
bring your
zoning
comments
changes
to a
in
close.
Jarrettsville were denied. Again,
Your
I
comments
ask,
to a close, Ben.
please consider
Thank you.
that request.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Robert Johnson, 315 Pondview Court, Forest Hill, Maryland, 21050. I'm here this evening regarding issue E-001, also known as 2512 Churchville Road. This property is located just north of Campus Hill Shopping Center on the same side of Churchville Road, one lot removed from the shopping center. The zoning is currently rural residential. At the time this property was zoned, rural residential made total sense. Most of the homes around the property on Rhineford Drive, Bramble Lane, and the courts that branch from them were constructed between 1960 and 1975. The residential development in that area actually predates Harford Community College's move to the Thomas Run Road campus, which occurred in 1971. Between 1975 and today, there have been thousands of residential dwellings constructed on the crossroads to Churchville Road. Residents from large developments off Fountain Green, Moores Mill, Briar Hill, Prospect Mill, and Thomas Run roads feed traffic to Churchville Road. Additionally, Harford Community College, which opened to an enrollment of about 400 students in 1971, now boasts some 20,000 students, including full-time, part-time, and continuing education. While commercial businesses do not create traffic, they do desire to locate where there is high traffic, both for increased visibility and easy access by consumers. The Churchville Road corridor from Bel Air to Churchville provides this optimum setting for commercial businesses to thrive, which is why all but one of the development projects from 1975 to 2025 that fronted Churchville Road directly were either ground-up commercial development projects or residential renovation to a commercial use. The only true residential project was a small cluster of townhouses on the newly created Thurlow Court in 2019. The zoning for 2152 Churchville Road no longer makes sense because the property is no longer rural, and Churchville Road is no longer suitable for residential development. How do I know this? First, the history of almost entirely commercial development previously mentioned. Second, the fact that the property's been on the market for 5 years as a residential development opportunity with no interest. Third, and probably the most telling, the short list of permitted uses for rural residential zone properties in Harford County, which are not residential. Besides single-family detached dwellings, the permitted uses for rural residential zone properties include public utility facilities, sanitary landfills, sewage treatment plants, sewage pumping stations, and rubble landfills. None of these require special exception, because if the land developed for those uses were truly rural, it would be far enough removed from development areas not to bother anyone. Do any of these fully permitted uses seem logical for this property now? Absolutely not. But because the zoning is outdated, according to your own permitted uses, the landfill makes as much sense to the county as a single-family dwelling. We're asking that the county council amend the comprehensive zoning legislation, approve the request to change the zoning from rural residential to B3, so this property may be developed in the future in the same fashion as all the other properties
Please bring your
developed on
comments to a
Churchville
close,
Road
sir.
over the past 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Bo Jarrett, 7 Shadowlong Hill Road, Owings Mills, Maryland. I'm here discussing D-011. I had comments last Tuesday night, so I won't go over that, but my basic ask was for the council to approve that application, so the Lions Club and I have the ability to have some flexibility if they're unable to buy the entire farm. And I don't think it's a big ask. Our property surrounds Keene Dodge. To the north is Kimmel Excavation. To the west is Smith Hardware. It's been zoned village business for decades, and we've never developed it, nor do we want to develop it. But if we need the flexibility, all I'm asking for is like 100 feet on the right near Keene, which they have, 300 feet, which Smith Hardware has, and about 150 feet, which Grimmel has. No more, no less. And again, It's to give us flexibility if they can't buy the farm. I don't think there's a property owner in this room, including the council, that wouldn't want to have the same land rights as their neighbors do. Somehow we were disadvantaged. I've talked to Shane Grimm's office. We don't know why it happened. It did happen. The sale price that we have with the Lions Club does not include any additional value if we get the zoning. Again, it's to give us flexibility. I'd love to work with Councilman Riley, President Vincetti, if you would help me help the community. We were offered close to $10 million a couple of years ago for the farm. It was very evident that they were not going to be very nice to the community like we've been. And we turned that down. That would have been a life-changing decision if I owned the land personally, but I have 8 other people that own the land with me. So we said no. I don't know what else to ask. I mean, you guys have a lot of big decisions to make in this room. I'm just a small farm guy from Owings Mills that's trying to help the community and help the Lions Club. And I need your help, not only to raise money with the Lions Club, but to give us flexibility if they can't buy the farm outright. My goal has never wavered since I hosted a community meeting in Jarrettsville. Every advisor I had said, "You're crazy. Don't let the community know what you're doing. It's just going to ruffle feathers." I'm like, I have nothing to hide. I stood at the Jarrettsville Fire Department with Councilman Riley. I said, I don't have any plans to develop it, but I need to go through the zoning process because it's an 8-year situation, and I'm not going to do this when I'm in my 70s, but I want to keep the Lions Club where they are. And that's our story. It's never wavered. So I hope you will consider, and I'll work with you with a compromise, but help me help the community. I want you to approve D011, or let's get together and have a compromise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Brianna Coleman, followed by Tammy Wainwright and Jeff Haig.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Coleman, and I live at 2347 Ingle Road. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to the upzoning request for property B005. It's been a minute since I've been here, reunited, and it feels so good. Before coming here, I always make sure to gather all the facts, and I did some digging into this property. As you may know, it's located in a rural part of Fallston. Back in the 2017 rezoning cycle, this property was considered, but ultimately it wasn't recommended in the legislation. However, at the last minute, an amendment was introduced to include it, with the rationale being to bring the business and buildings into compliance. So in 2017, a portion of this property was granted upzoning, making about 2+ acres of the 47-acre lot B1 zoning, bringing the business and existing buildings into compliance with zoning laws. I'd like to thank the property owner for attending our last CAB meeting and sharing his vision for the future. He has a clear passion and dedication to farming a large majority of the property. He expressed that his family wants to diversify, and his idea for the B1 portion of the property is the addition of a farm stand or market, offering local products. This is something I personally support and would be a welcome addition to the community. But here's the thing, this vision could already be achieved with the existing 2+ acres of B1 zoning at the corner of Pleasantville Road and Route 152. This property is located outside the development envelope, surrounded by residential land, and this request does not align with the 2016 Harford Next Master Land and Use Plan. I'd like to thank Council President Vincenti and Councilman Bennett for ensuring that District B will have a voice in this process. With that in mind, I'd like to respectfully request an amendment to remove property B005 from Bill 25-002. I'd also like to thank Mr. Grimm and the Department of Planning and Zoning and the Planning Advisory Board for their transparency and patience throughout this process. Thank you for your time and consideration. I truly appreciate you listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Tammy Wainwright, 11 Spasucia Road, Aberdeen, Maryland. I am in opposition to F002 upzoning and to support amending AG zoning for Mitchell Farm Bill 25-002. I am requesting that the County Council amend the bill to rezone the Mitchell Farm and adjacent light industrial parcels in Perryman to agricultural. This change would reflect actual land use, fill the donut, reduce infrastructure strain, and promote more consistent, balanced planning throughout District F. This is not just a matter of land use for me. It is personal. I am a proud sixth-generation descendant of the enslaved that labored on the land now known as the Mitchell Farm. A proud daughter of Harford County and a woman of faith. My ancestors' blood, sweat, and prayers are embedded in that soil. The ground remembers, and if you listen closely, you will hear the whispered stories of the land's first people, the settlers, the enslaved, stories of struggle, defeat, and loss, and stories of survival, perseverance, strength, but most importantly, stories of a deep, enduring hope. You see, this is about more than zoning. This is about our required humanity, our duty to remember, our obligation to restore. We could pave it and cover it in diesel fumes, or we could choose a different path, a better path, one where this soil becomes a place for young people to wonder, to grow, a place where our labor, our struggle, and our love for community becomes a lesson, not a loss. The Mitchell Farm is not just land, it is a testament. And the question before us now is, what will we do with that inheritance? So I say to this council and to County Executive Casserly, with all the conviction of my faith and my history, amend the bill, rezone the Mitchell Farm and surrounding parcels to agricultural. Let us preserve the land where my ancestors trudged, so that future generations may roam it as students, stewards, and proud Harford Countyans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Haig, 1800 Park Beach Drive, Perryman, and I'm here to comment on Bill 002. First, I want to state that I'm opposed to the proposed upzoning of parcel F002 in District F to commercial industrial from present agricultural and business designation. Secondly and foremost, I'm requesting that the County Council amend Bill 25F02 to rezone the Mitchell Farm and adjacent light industrial parcels in Perryman to agricultural. This change would reflect actual land use, reduce infrastructure strain, and promote better balanced planning throughout District F. I am a second generation landowner, not six or anything like that. Excuse me. But I also believe in zoning requests for a reason. I'm a second generation, I believe in private property. But I also believe in that zoning exists for a reason, to create guardrails that prevent one person's ambition or greed from imposing any foreseeable harm, degradation of the quality of life, as well as any detrimental financial impact upon largely everyone else within the community. This county's approach to industrial zoning in Perryman has gone way too far. The roads aren't built for it. The water infrastructure can't support it. The people who live here and many who stored this land for generations have in the recent decades and more recent years have been treated like collateral damage, and this needs to stop. Zoning should follow a simple and common sense rules, where zoning should first serve the long-term publics in a fair manner and never the short-term monetary interests of any developer. That's why I'm asking this council's and our county executives help to correct the course. Amend the bill, rezone the Mitchell Farm and the surrounding parcels to agriculture, and make it clear that no one gets to spoil the well for the rest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Amanda Lazow, followed by Wendy Wallstrom, Glenn Gillis, and Cheryl New.
Who's your first speaker?
Amanda Lazow.
Call your next speaker.
Wendy Wallstrom, Glenn Gillis, and Cheryl New.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Wallstrom. I live at 3933 Webster Road. And I'm here to add my voice in opposition to D-018. Where I live is part of a farm, a family farm that's been farmed continuously in my family, the Walker family, for 150 years and more. Having lived at this address my whole life, I am also here tonight to bear witness to what it's like to live near an Aldino airport who treats their neighbors with consideration and respect, and the difference we experience now with the operators and the owners of that property. I'm not going to take up the whole time because you've heard from a lot of eloquent speakers about all the reasons why you shouldn't rezone this property. But I'm here to thank you. I've been at these meetings and I've watched you attentively listen to each person. And my prayer for you each day is that you will seek guidance of others in your higher power to make wise and just decisions. That will continue to be my prayer, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Glenn Gillis, 1936 Park Beach Drive, speaking as a member of 3P Protect Perryman Peninsula in opposition of the upzoning of F002 property and in support of the right zoning of the Mitchell Farm. 16 of the 65 applications under this comprehensive rezoning process are requesting the upzoning of ag to higher intensity designations to include 4 from ag to industrial designations. While this is the county's executive's wishes to increase the industrial opportunities in Harford County, we must balance this growth that benefits the owners with the ultimate expense to the county and its citizens. F002 request to upzone from ag to CI is one of the many examples of owner-developers seeking to convert undeveloped farm and green spaces to significantly higher intensity and impact designations. As was well stated by my friend Paul Felice last week, zoning is not a personal asset. It is public policy meant to serve the greater good. While all of the 16 ag upzone requests, including F002, are not supported by the P&Z, the county executive, and the PAB, it remains incumbent upon the council to ensure that these and other upzoning of ag properties are not enacted in this bill. Additionally, the council should consider correcting existing inappropriate zoning designation of ag use properties like LI designation of Mitchell Farm in Perryman. Until corrected, the county and the Perryman citizens will endlessly endure and be forced to defend against owners and developers' next great industrial plan. Also, the council needs to demand the update of the nearly decade-old Harford Next and outdated land use policies. If not proactive, outsiders will continue to exploit us. In summary, I ask the county executive and the council to only upzone properties that are in the community's best interest, retain and reclaim ag lands wherever and whenever possible to include right zoning of Mitchell Farm, promote redevelopment of existing industrial brownfields over the destruction of our precious remaining underdeveloped green spaces, and update and revamp land use planning and zoning practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Cheryl New, 3933 Webster Road, Harvard Grace, and I'm here in opposition to D018. I'm a native of Harford County, was born in Harford County. I've lived away from here for a long time, and 2.5 years ago, my husband and I decided to retire here. So we moved back to the house that I was born in and added on to it. that airport is noisy. The Black Hawk helicopters make a lot of noise, and I'm very concerned about the effects to the groundwater. We have a well, and I just ask that you not grant this request. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thomas Gay, followed by Joe Moran, J.D. DeVito, Steve Preston.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Thomas Gay, 2602 Franklinville Road in Joppa, and I'm here in opposition to B009. And we've heard a lot of neighbors talk about concerns with effects to the environment in that area, the quality of life, and I fully agree with that. We live 400 feet away from the edge of this property, and we moved to this neighborhood from Baltimore County 35 years ago for a better quality of life, which we're enjoying. Of course, over that time, we've seen a little bit of degradation of that because of increased traffic, and we're concerned that if an operation such as light industrial were allowed to happen on our road, that would only exacerbate that problem and create some other issues. We all rely on well water, and I'm concerned that because our ground does not perk, it's all clay, that a light industrial operation in there would require a well of their own, so they would be affecting the aquifer as well as raising the risk of contamination from industrial pollutants, as well as runoff into the Chesapeake Bay. There's a drainage that goes right through that property straight to the bay. So anything that goes on the ground is going to find its way there. In the time that we've been there, speaking of the well situation, 15 years ago, a neighbor directly next door to us had to re-drill a deeper well. And the neighbor directly across the street from us 10 years ago had to do the same thing. So far, we've been fortunate. But that's my biggest concern, that our health, dealing with possible contamination of the well. Once you contaminate a well, you're not fixing that. And dealing with the quality of life impact from increased traffic, as well as the detriment to the environment. You know, one of the things that really attracted us is we're surrounded by wooded lots. And so we have the peace and calm of that. We get to enjoy the wildlife. You know, we see deer and fox and birds run through the property. Now that we're retired, we get to enjoy more of that, and I'd like to keep it that way. So I ask for your support in keeping the zoning as it currently is and not change it to light industrial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please, and applicant number.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Moran. I reside at 8745 Gerst Ave in Baltimore, Maryland. I'd like to thank the council members this evening. I'm here in favor of issue number A-016 and 017 from R1 to R2. This property is located at the corner of Joppa Farm Road and Route 7. History. The property was purchased by our company in 2010 with the understanding from Harford County that we'd be able to tie into the existing sewer line using a pressure sewer system for our proposed 12 lots. After the purchase of the property, Harford County changed their position, denied our ability to use the pressure sewer system and using the existing line, and said that we would need to coordinate with Baltimore Gas and Electric, who owns the property adjacent to us, and they granted an easement so that we could, that we would have to do a gravity system. This off-site sewer connection will require some 2,000 linear feet of piping with the depths sometimes greater than 20 feet. And at the time of the estimated, at the time of the construction, the estimated cost was about $500,000, which was not feasible. Current status. Today, the estimated cost of the same project has risen to approximately $750,000 plus to construct. The cost does not include our on-site development expenses. We currently have 11 recorded building lots clustered on 3.5 acres of the original 10 acres. Due to the extraordinary off-site costs, the project's limited 11 lots is not economically feasible. justification for zoning change from R1 to R2. The proposed gravity off-site sewer line, if constructed, would serve the broader community purpose beyond our own project. It would help address health and safety concerns related to the numerous failing septic systems in the Joppa community along Route 7. By enabling this sewer extension, a significant number of existing houses with failing private septic systems along Route 7 would be provided with access to public sewer system, alleviating current health and safety issues. Further, we have numerous conversations with the Harford County Department of Public Works and the Health Department. They find this issue to be a true priority. Request. Therefore, we respectfully request that Councilwoman Robert, the council representative of Joppa area, and fellow councilpersons introduce and support an amendment changing the current R1 zoning to R2. This change would allow for some additional density of no more than 10 additional units, increasing our total potential density to 21 units. The request is totally consistent with the Harford County Master Plan designation of medium intensity. This limited additional density.
Please bring your comments to a close, sir.
Okay. I ask for your support of this R1 to R2.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
J.D. DeVito, 2505 Lady Ann Court, Churchville, 21028. And the issue is E001. So, good evening. I want to thank you all for this opportunity to talk to you this evening regarding the rezoning of E001 from RR to B3. As a resident of this area who is going to be directly impacted by this, my neighborhood is right behind the property. I'm opposed to the rezoning, and the reasons why are really due to the traffic impact that we would see. As Doug has mentioned, trying to get in and out of Rhinefort is in the morning and really kind of all the time is really challenging at best. And as he pointed out, the great example of the school buses in the morning having to go right to go left. The added business traffic will really make it almost near impossible for us as residents to navigate safely in and out of the development. The increased traffic could also lead to another traffic light in that location to accommodate the business traffic. There are already 5 traffic lights between Shucks Road and 155. It's about a 2.5-mile stretch of land right there. Another traffic light is just going to add to the flow problems already getting through that area due to the 2 lanes and also the timing of the traffic lights. The timing of the traffic lights with 5 is already pretty bad through there. So adding another traffic light is just going to cause more delays getting through there. So introducing a business development into our tight-knit community will drastically alter the neighborhood's feel and aesthetics and reduce its appeal for residents seeking a quiet, family-friendly neighborhood, as well as disrupting the community that we have built and worked to maintain. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Steve, excuse me, Steve Preston, 3623 Harmony Church Road, Harford of Grace. And I'm speaking in opposition to D018. By now, you've heard the concerns related to the current operation of the airport. Those include excessive noise, privacy intrusion, zoning infractions, environmental concerns, and added risk to property and personal safety. I agree with all those concerns, and I've witnessed them from nearby properties, including the noise and the intrusion due to parachutes coming down over people's houses and backyards. But what I really wanted to do is make the point that these issues are not just an issue at the airport and nearby properties. It's also much broader in scope. My property is approximately 5 miles from the airport, but I happen to be on the flight path for aircraft coming in and out of the airport. On a clear day, there's a parade of aircraft flying low over my house that goes on pretty much all day long. It's a bit like living near a busy highway, only the traffic is over your house rather than next to your house. I've also witnessed reckless pilot behavior, flying low over treetops and over my barn. And I see all these issues occurring over my property, but they go way beyond my property as well, over most of Deer Creek and beyond. So I'd like to make the point that these concerns are not just about the airport property itself and nearby properties. They affect a large portion of the county. And that's the current operation. Any upzoning or expansion of the airport is just going to make all of that worse. So for those reasons, I would request that zoning change request D08 be denied in its entirety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Eric Conrad, followed by Stacy Stone, Sally LeBaire, and Steve Fizel.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Eric Conrad. I live at 2318 Rock Spring Road. I'm here to oppose the change to D008 and D009 in Forest Hill from village residential to village business. My wife and I and our small family, we purchased property across the street from those two plots a few years ago. We've lived in Harford County our whole lives, and we wanted to stay in Harford County, particularly in that area because of the school district and the community that exists there, to be part of it. And the plots across the street have been residential plots for 100 years plus. They were purchased sometime, I think, in 2016, and there were existing properties on there, structures on there, and they were torn down. I don't think there was really a good faith effort to reintroduce those lots as residential properties after that, and I think that the long-term goal was to convert these to business properties to match the post office and other properties on that sort of corner in Forest Hill. These properties are flanked on 3 sides by other residential properties, and the total size of these lots is somewhere around 3 acres. You can put a massive, massive structure there, and I don't know what the intention is with those lots. I don't know what the developers are planning to do there, but I do know that the existing uses in that space already produce significant traffic, significant noise pollution, significant light pollution. I don't need a flashlight to go, out into the yard at night. It's completely lit by the post office, the bank on the corner, the street lights that are out there, and putting a larger sort of business property there would only add to that throughout the night. My kids get woken up by traffic every once in a while at night, and that's something that we knew would happen. We were not surprised that a main road was out in front of our house when we bought it. It's been there for a long time. But the only loading for these properties would be at our front yard, right at our front door. There's no alternate access to these lots anywhere else, and so looking at the information that the county even provided, there's somewhere around 3,000 cars that drive through that space every day. This proposed change with the estimated uses that would be put there would increase that over 10%, somewhere closer to 13%. And so this is not just cars that are driving past, these are cars that are pulling into and out of that lot directly across from us. And so I worry about the safety of my kids, that increased traffic. There's already accidents that exist there, but also just the decrease in quality of life. I know that there are people from the adjoining neighborhood that have opposed this as well, and so I would just ask that you do the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Stacy Stone, 2106 Park Beach Drive, Perryman, Maryland, and I'm here in opposition of F-002. I'm requesting that the county executive and county council amend Bill 25-002 to rezone the remaining parcels of the Mitchell Farm and adjacent light industrial parcels in Perryman back to agricultural. This change will reflect actual land use, reduce infrastructure strain, and promote more consistent balance in planning in District F. I'm a civil engineer specializing in drainage and stormwater management, and I live in Perryman where my property is at elevation 3.5. It is underwater every time we have a heavy rain or a usual high tide. This occurs during most high tides in the spring and about weekly during hurricane and thunderstorm season. So I have about 4 months of what I call the dry season, where my yard does not flood on a regular basis. Let me be clear, there's no stormwater management plan that justifies adding more impervious surface to Perryman. None. The system is already maxed out. To the contrary, we need stormwater remediation now for existing impervious area. This flooding is not occasional, it is routine, and every new warehouse pad, truck yard, every patch of pavement will make it worse. I want to be precise, the current zoning bill does not explicitly add industrial development to Perryman, but it also fails to fix the zoning mistakes we've been living with for decades. By leaving the Mitchell Farm zone industrial, it leaves the door wide open for future warehouse development, despite everything we know about flood risks, the infrastructure failure, and environmental impacts. This is a missed opportunity, and frankly, a dangerous one. I don't care what your politics are, this is not political at all. It's physics. Water flows downhill to my house. And when you take thousands of acres that once absorbed rain and convert them into rooftops and asphalt, the water has to go somewhere. Right now, it's going into our streets, to our yards, into our basements. Clubhouse Road in Perryman has been flooded consistently for over a month now and will continue to do so until we get into the summer drought. You don't need a task force and another study to tell you that Mitchell Farm is wrongly placed for industrial zoning. Just need common sense and maybe a map. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If this council allows more industrial zoning in Perryman without addressing the flood risk, it'd be a failure of both planning and ethics. Now's the time to fix the rezoning of the Mitchell Farm and the surrounding parcels back to agricultural. Not because it's politically convenient, but because it's structurally necessary. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Sally Labar, 703 Hayden Court, Bel Air, Maryland. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Friends of Harford, and the issues will be A, 007, 008, 009, and 010, and B001, B004, D018, E005, and E006. We are asking the County Council to deny the zoning changes that do not align with community plans or Harford Next. The A items 07 to 10, Paul's Lane and Route 7. These parcels are on a narrow road, which is Route 7, and twisty, and the Paul's Lane goes down the hill, and that is incredibly narrow. It's near homes, it's near recreation fields, it includes wetlands, steep slopes, and forest, and 3 of those are in the Green Infrastructure Plan, which is the county plan that aims to prioritize smarter use of lands that are more compromised, less easy to develop. GI zoning would bring heavy industrial use to an area that cannot handle it. 01, B001, Harford and Connolly Road. It's next. This area has lots of traffic problems. Connolly Road really needs to be upgraded. 2 parcels are vacant. The B2 zoning allows the appropriate neighborhood scale use. Please keep that. B004, this site is outside the development envelope. It lacks water sewer. That should be basically the list. If it lacks water sewer, it's very difficult to then remediate that and then stop future development. D18 is within a priority preservation area already near protected land. It's active farms in rural settings, and it doesn't look to make sense to drop huge industrial uses and impervious surfaces in the middle of farmland that you can see on a map. In E005 and 6, that's Churchville Road. There's already a bank there, and there's already a store there. Interesting, they want a liquor store. There's been a liquor store. It's a non-conforming use for 18 months, more than that. They already have it. They don't need any more. For decades, we have supported smart growth that protects neighborhoods and natural areas, avoids
Ma'am, please bring
traffic
your comments to a
and
close.
safety risks. Please keep that in balance.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Steve Fazell. I live at 1002 Clender Court in Bel Air, Maryland. I'm here to speak for issue E002. Good one, because nobody's against it. All of our properties there are zoned B1. We're asking for B3 zoning. This property is at the first intersection on Route 22 West as you come off of I-95. It's less than 1 mile from 95. From Boston to Miami, all similar properties from in all these different states are zoned highway commercial. When you get off of I-95 on a state highway, first intersection, light controlled, you normally find highway commercial zoning and highway commercial uses. When you get off I-95, you're not getting off to look for, a place to, you're getting off to get something to eat, you're getting off to find a hotel, you're getting off to find highway commercial uses. That's what state highway access and I-95 grant you. This property is the access to the stadium. It's directly across from the Heat Center. It's just at the intersection, the light that'll control the movement of the people buying the 2,000 homes being developed down behind this property. It's, those people are going to come out in the morning or afternoon or evening, and they're going to go do their shopping. They're going to drive out, and they're going to drive over into Aberdeen and add additional congestion to Route 22 because there's nothing commercial there. This property is B1 now. It should have been B3 8 years ago, and it should be B3 now. The planners, like I say, from Boston to Miami have determined that highway commercial is the appropriate zoning for parcels like this. So I would ask at this time that you grant this zoning and allow the property to be used commercially the way it should be. The B1 zoning, by the way, is as valuable as tits on a boar hog. It's worthless. Anyone in this county with B1 zoning knows that because none of it has been developed in the 30-some-odd years y'all have had it here. It's a worthless zone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think.
Krista Pagliana, followed by Bob Lynch, Glenn Dutter, and Jill Mermagnon.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Krista LaPaglia, and I live at 2608 Palmyra Drive in Churchville. And I'm in opposition to E001 being upzoned. And because I'm a retired teacher, I had to bring my visual aids. So I have a map of my development. If you look at it, my finger is on the property that wants to be upzoned, and you'll see that there are two streams that feed through that property. They are protected. They feed into the Deer Creek watershed and the Chesapeake Bay. There are protected wetlands, and this property does not perk. So all our children that live along this street here and along this street play in that stream. On top of that, and within the last 10 years, many of the property owners have been told that if they border that stream, they can no longer put their septic systems in their backyard. Here is one such home. You will see over here is their well here, sewer over here. I don't think anybody wants their well and their sewer in their front yard. Then there's the issue of drainage into our neighborhood. We have no culverts, no streetlights, no sidewalks, no fire hydrants, no even traffic lights in that particular area. Putting a business in there would just create more drainage into our neighborhood, because if you see the elevation on this map, it shows all the water drains into the development. And that is why a good number of our wells in that area are starting to show toxic chemicals. On top of that, the highway maintenance is not being done in that area, so the water continues to back up into our development. Now there's the issue of traffic. This is a truck driving, he's pulled onto 22 from Asbury Road, which is directly across from Rhineford. And he is traveling on the wrong side of the road on the double line, yellow line, to make his entrance onto 22. And I am standing there watching him do this, which happens several times a day. And there are times when I go to pull into that lane, which is my lane to pull into my neighborhood, and I can't do it because somebody's coming at me in that lane from in the wrong direction. And so for those reasons alone, I'm asking you not to put a business in there. There are 6 vacant businesses, not even a tenth of a mile from that property, that are been sitting vacant for years. If they want to put a business in there, they can go over there and do it, any number of them. But I ask you, please do not do this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Bob Lynch with the law firm of Stark and Keenan, 30 Office Street, Bel Air, Maryland. Good evening, President Vincenti, members of the County Council. I was here this evening to talk specifically about issue 016 and 017, which was previously addressed by my client, Mr. Joe Moran. These are companion issues because they're immediately adjacent to one another near the intersection of Route 7 and Jopper Farm Road. This is not a complicated request, unlike many of the others that we've talked about tonight. Currently, it's zoned R1. We are requesting that council members introduce an amendment to R2. I've met with several of you to discuss this request, and each of you have received a letter yesterday outlining the justification for the R2 zoning change. As council members, as you review all these numerous requests concerning rezonings, one of the fundamental questions all of you ask, and I know this because of your experience in looking at all these issues, is the request consistent with the Harford County Master Plan? And I want to say it twice. This request is absolutely consistent with the master plan. This is consistent. Why? Because the master plan has designated this whole area along Route 7 as medium intensity. And an R2 request is absolutely consistent with this R2 request. Now, the master plan, as you go through it, it has a lot of other policy statements concerning land use. And it talks about it's important that we encourage, as a government, encourage infill opportunities for residential development along Route 40 and Route 7. It says that right in the document. It also says, as a policy, it's extremely important to connect failing septic systems where they can be better served by public sewer. And these areas have failing septic systems. The Harford County Health Department acknowledges it, Department of Public Works, and Planning and Zoning acknowledge it. 18 years ago, Mr. Moran, as he said, received approval for 10 lots. Can't be built. Quite frankly, the numbers don't work. The idea was to extend the septic systems, extend the public sewer, hook up existing homes to where they're failing systems, and it becomes a win-win situation. This can still be a win-win situation because this rezoning request furthers the master plan objectives. It's infill development. There's no doubt about it. It's what's called for in the master plan. It addresses failing septic systems. And the nice thing about this request, and I can stand here and affirmatively say, the rezoning follows sound planning principles. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So I'd ask you to give this serious consideration. all of you, and thank you for the opportunity this evening to address you.
Mr. Lynch, I need your mailing address.
30 Office Street, Bel Air.
I need your home address, sir. Same as everybody else that stands at that mic.
That's no problem.
Thank you.
903 Rock Spring Church Road, Forest Hill.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Call your next speaker, please.
Glenn Dutter, followed by Jill Mermagan.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, council members. Glenn Dutter, 1806 Park Beach Drive, Aberdeen, Maryland, 21001, and I'm testifying to District F issue F002. Friends of Harford asked Dr. Alan Sweetman and I to visit all the proposed applications in District F. We did, and one of our recommendations to FOH was to oppose F002. Upon further consideration, I now recommend that F002 be zoned ag. Here's why. A few years ago, Perryman residents and I saw the proposed plan for 5 million square feet of warehouses in the farmland of Perryman, and we asked the developers to make the following changes to reduce the impact. All stormwater runoff from roofs, sidewalks be directed into oil water separators and before draining into stormwater management plans, and all pond discharge be directed into treatment techniques recommended by DNR-MDE. We recommended that transportation improvements be made to the area to reduce and eliminate truck traffic. The truck traffic to the site via bridge or underpass on Perryman Road to eliminate diesel exhaust from trucks lined up at a traffic light on the proposed at-grade crossing, that forested wetlands that drain into the Bush River not be disturbed, and that plans be made to prevent long engine idling of parked trucks. The answer to all these questions was no. Based on that experience and as a member of 3P, Protect Perryman Peninsula, I now recommend the downzoning F02 to ag because I see similar problems that would not probably be adequately addressed. They are as follows. There's a small stream down the middle of F002 that is the headwaters of Bynum Run, a tributary of the Bush River. I could go into that, but not in 3 minutes. The need for transportation improvements on routes 136, 543, and their currently inadequate intersection, and the narrow winding Shucks Road. The lack of infrastructure in the largely rural area and the adjacent residential areas and a popular, heavily used recreation area to the south. I'm also requesting that the council to amend Bill 25002 to rezone the farmland in Perryman from LI to Ag. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Jill Mermagan, 3536 Green Spring Road, Haverty Grace, Maryland, 21078. This is in opposition to the issue of D018. First of all, thank you for everyone's patience. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for listening to one more voice. We've lived on our property for almost 35 years. During this time, especially recently, we have experienced a significant increase in the number of flights over our home, including airplanes, helicopters, and flights carrying skydivers. We seem to be located on the flight path where airplanes take off, circle, and begin descent to the airport. Constant flying over our home and the homes of our neighbors become a significant noise pollution problem. There are times when we're outside, we must pause our conversation while an airplane flies over the house. This interferes with the use and enjoyment of our property. Helicopters fly low enough to rattle the windows in our house. Also, aircraft flying over the house at 7:30 in the morning is not an ideal alarm clock. I sometimes feel as if my privacy is being invaded while my family is outside or in our pool. The second concern is safety. We have all seen many reports of aircraft crashing into homes and property. In 2023, an aircraft crash landed in the field of my neighbor killing the pilot on board. This field is located approximately 1 mile from the homes of myself and several neighbors. Expanding the use of the airport will increase air traffic and increase the risk to my family and my neighbors and my property. Harford County Airport website states that persons who rent aircraft are required to have a non-owned aircraft insurance policy that includes a $250,000 policy for property damage. If that aircraft crashes into the property in the surrounding area, it will take more than $250,000 to pay for the damages. Finally, I'm concerned about the expansion that includes touring an aircraft from out of state. Recently, I witnessed a helicopter registered to Smoketown Helicopters in Smoketown, Pennsylvania, doing a touchdown at the airport a few minutes past 8 a.m., a time when Smoketown Helicopter Tours is not open for business, as well as being outside of their usual tour territory. Is Harford County Airport permitting tours, helicopter flying lessons, and touchdowns? I respectfully request that the upzoning be declined to keep our community safe and to lower noise pollution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chad Ogle, followed by Deborah Anderson, Dwayne Macer, and Mansour Mir Jaffrey.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Chad Ogle, 901 Cedar Lane, Bel Air, Maryland. So I grew up somewhat ironically in a house built, F005.
Thank you.
I grew up somewhat ironically in a house built 42 years ago by Caddy Homes, which is the developer that owns the current property there for F005. My parents still live there. My wife and I started a family. We built a house off of Cedar Lane. We got 2 young little girls that think they're Bindi Irwin. They go out in the woods, they look at all the critters, they've been making a list, right? So they found the salamanders, the corn snakes, their favorite find, the bald eagle family that lives across the street. There's also 3 herds of deer that they've identified. My concern with additional development in this space is further reduction of wildlife spaces, as well as additional traffic on that small road. We live on the gravel road section. It's very congested, it's barely 1 lane. So with the few remaining natural resource spaces in the area, I'd just like to preserve that if we could. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Deborah Anderson. I also live on Green Spring Road, 3725 Green Spring Road, Haverty Grace, Maryland. And I don't plan on speaking very long tonight. I'm really just here as a member in the community. I'm a retired teacher from Prospect Mill. In fact, some of my colleagues are here in the audience. Taught 41 years there. And some of the principles we taught our students and even read in our stories, simple things like having petitions where they would sign them and getting on board to change a rule maybe in an apartment complex so a child could have a pet. I'm here representing the same thought that my voice too will make a difference. I don't want to reiterate all the wonderful comments and facts that have been put on display tonight and all the hard work. And I think we're all tired, so I'm going to end with that note, and thank you for listening.
What was the issue, ma'am?
Oh, did I not state the number? I'm sorry, it was the airport.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm opposed to the expansion and commercialization of the Eldino Airport.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. President and Honorable Councilman. My name is Mansour Mir Jaffrey. I live at 1903 Rock Spring Road, Forest Hill, Maryland, 21050. And I'm applying for the rezoning of the property, 10-acre land owned by my company, 411 Philadelphia Road, LLC. The address is 411 Philadelphia Road.
What is the applicant number, sir?
Oh, sorry about that, Mr. President. A-015.
Thank you.
Okay. This property, we apply from R1 to R3. And for the following reason, we are applying for that. First, it's in the master plan that's approved, master plan. Second, the area is changing. Majority of the area I have been over 50 years in all aspects of real estate, commercial, residential, land development in Harford County. And this area is the most basically changed area in the Harford County. One of those areas, I wouldn't say the most. And the evidence of that is really they put the toll road right now, right in Mountain Road. And there is a lot of changes. And this property is very, very close to 95, which means no harm. Traffic is not really increasing. It's between the corridor of Route 40 and Philadelphia Road. It's no harm to anybody else and bring a lot of revenue by changing the zoning to the Harford County. Another benefit of that. And comparable property, comparable with the zoning on the area, some of the property on the area, they have much, much higher zoning than this our property. We compare them, this property, we are applying from R1 to R3. I really appreciate your time and everything, Mr. President, and the rest of the councilman.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
My name is Dwayne Mazer, 2612 Green Spring Avenue West. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak. I'm here to inform you that I oppose B00-009 and do not want light industry in Joppa, Maryland. This is a rural environment, and industry of any sort is inconsistent with the surrounding areas and will be detrimental to our way of life. We moved to 2612 Green Spring Avenue in 1983. Our street is one way in and one way out. This was one of many reasons for us to have made this decision moving from Baltimore County, Kearney. Yes, we did have asphalt partial road not connected other Green Spring Avenue that you can get off a mountain road. My understanding by talking to neighbors who have lived here for many years said was opposed, and that this was prior to a house being built there. This further limiting easement from doing this. It has a guardrail blocking this narrow passage and substantial ground erosion and a big ditch through the center of this area. Furthermore, the county agreed that this was confusing and differentiated the designation of Green Spring Avenue East and Green Spring Avenue West. I spoke at a hearing and suggested that you take a field trip and see the quiet, pristine neighborhood and would cause harm to our community by opening this. Also, try to turn left from Franklinville onto Mountain Road anytime. You will be taking a risk to get into traffic. A senator that lives in the area opposed when the same site was surveyed by Park and Ride and determined was too close to 95 merge lanes and traffic patterns, wetlands, watershed, and gunpowder runoff, and roads not rated for trucks. It has been determined by the state that Franklinville Road cannot handle any more traffic, nor can Mountain Road if B-009 was approved. It would be unsafe for the residents by creating an undue amount of traffic. Increased traffic would also lead to more pollution, trash, noise, and light, and crime in our rural area. Industrial warehouses or apartments would create a massive amount of runoff, spoiling the wetlands on this property, as well as forcing pollution to drain the Gunpowder River located just a few yards away. We've seen the outcome of reckless rezoning from projects like Ridgely's Reserves. Don't let this area become another embarrassing ecological disaster. Any loss of forest in this area would be devastating to the wildlife and plant populations. This area is home to thousands of creatures and trees. Maryland is mandating the preservation of trees, and B-009 proposed to destroy pristine forest and natural canopy this provides. This is simply wrong and put industry. This land needs to be preserved. Thank you for your time. Considering my opposition to B-009 is important to me and my community to remain a rural area and protect our natural lands.
Good job. Good job. Irene. Call your next speaker.
John Qualls, followed by Ken Bassford, Scott Benger, and Gabrielle Gonzalez.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is John Qualls. I live at 3236 Cool Branch Road in Churchville. I'm here tonight to oppose the rezoning of E007 and E009 from Ag to R1. That's the Robert Wagner Farm off of Route 22. And also to oppose the rezoning of D018, the Harford County Airport. I've known the man who's farmed the Wagner place for the past 30 years. He's lost a lot of ground to development. And he and I both grew up here and been here our whole lives. And since I was a boy, all I've ever wanted to do is farm. And we've had to watch the whole county just gradually disappear. And that makes our jobs a lot harder every day. As it is, I can't even get down my own road without people trying to run me over or cuss me out. They'll take their cars and drive them up into the banks. They'll literally try to destroy their own cars to get around me rather than move out of my way, because I'm like 11 feet wide. I can't yield to them. And there's a development across there right now that's going in, and I'm just curious if the Wagner Farm is going to go up, how much more traffic is that going to add to Route 22, which is already, you know, pretty much traffic jam? I assume they're going to have to put another light in there. As for the airport, I went to the last meeting in 2013, and their grounds for expansion then were they were trying to make it safer. They said it was only meeting the minimum safety standards at that time. Well, there was a lot of opposition there at the time because everybody knew what they wanted to do, but yet they ended up getting the approval anyway, and now they're basically asking for it again. So I want to know what safety regulations need to be met now. And I happen to know Mr. Berg, who was up here speaking last week. He's my tire man, and his whole family, they're good guys, wonderful family. And he's just looking out for his family and make sure that it's safe for his kids back there. And, you know, I just don't want to see what's left of this county get swallowed up by development, because my son, who was here last week with my wife, if he decides to follow in my footsteps, I'd like for there to be some ground left for him to farm if he so chooses. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Ken Bassford, 1453 Valley Forge Way, Abingdon, and I'm speaking on F001. I own the land adjacent to the site requesting rezoning. Both the Department of Planning and Zoning and the Planning Advisory Board have recommended no change in the current zoning. I agree that the zoning should not be upgraded to R2 for several reasons. First, the land in question includes the site of Harford Town or Bush Farm, and the 22nd encampment of Count Rochambeau on his march back from Yorktown. The land is currently the subject of archaeological excavation and is to determine what other structures existed on the property. Development of the land will destroy any artifacts, forever erasing any possibility of gaining knowledge of what life was like in Bush. Second, the surrounding area is already suffering from the effects of nearby development, raising the water table to the point where swampland is less than 3 feet away from Route 7 in places. The development, called Harford Town, also an R2, has led to the condemning and abandonment of Bush Road, the encroachment of swampland from a half mile away from Route 7 to within 3 feet, and the east side of and a $900,000 bridge project, which has flooded out 9 times over the last 7 years. The land that I owned on the west side of Route 7 already exhibiting the effects of rising water tables with trees dying off from root rot. Development of F001 will only compound the problem by removing permeable surface area that can soak up rainwater. A 1-foot rise in the water table will eliminate several homes, a dentist's office, and the Bushmill Tavern, as they will be flooded by even the slightest bit of rain. Last, the road system in the area already is experiencing problems handling the traffic that it has. Putting another densely populated subdivision will gridlock the existing roads, assuming they're not underwater, that is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Scott Strybinger, 18 Vista View Court, Kingsville, Maryland, 21087. This is a little furtherance of what I testified to last Tuesday. Mr. Lynch accidentally said, didn't qualify that I'm only seeking an upgrade on part of the land. I'm sorry, it's B003. So I have, I guess, about, well, my family, we have about 1,300 linear feet of frontage on Route 1, and it's commercial and backdating a little bit when Kraus and everybody was dumping all the rock and everything from Route 1 when they straightened and aligned towards Kingsville and Perry Hall, and all that rock and everything came up to where we're at. Harford County says we want this corridor to be the commercial corridor. So they were very clear that that's a commercial corridor, and everything to Record Road was B3. So we're a stone throw away from Record Road, and then we have that stretch ballpark shot of 1,300 feet where Bel Air Golf is, and their miniature golf thing in their golf driving range, and the whole 9 yards is there. So it's been there for a long time. The whole community is very supportive. You haven't heard anybody against us upgrading the zoning there. This has been, I guess they've been there for almost 30 years. When Kraus and Harford County and the state wanted to dump all the stone and rock and everything, that's why the land can never be farmed. That was a ballpark shot about 33 years ago. There again, I had some illness and this, and this, so things died on vine, but we had special exceptions. So all I'm asking is please consider common sense. It's on Route 1. It's a commercial corridor. Everything on that side of the road from Mountain Road down to Record Road is B3. So I'd appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Uh-oh. We're in trouble now. Good evening, hon.
Good evening.
Have your name and address, please.
My name is Gabriela Gonzalez, and I live at 1636 Perryman Road in Aberdeen. I'm against the F002 upzoning. I live by a beautiful farm and beautiful land. There are so many animals that come around, and it's magical. I walk outside every day and breathe in the air and look at the wildlife, and there's nature. There are rabbits, deers, bees, foxes, lightning bugs, and those are just a few of the many different but beautiful kinds of animals. If the warehouses are built in Perryman, all of that goes away, all of it. There would be nowhere for the animals and insects to go. Humans depend on the insects to pollinate and help plants, which helps the air. Let me tell you something really quick. All of those warehouses will cover up the beautiful farms and the land that is in our backyard, and soon there will be less and less until there's nothing beautiful of that farm and land left. Everything will be warehouses, trucks, smoke, and concrete. I know nobody will actually like that, at least nobody that actually lives in Perryman. I recently drove through Philadelphia, and there were a bunch of run-down, broken warehouses. That is what this place will end up looking like. Do you want that? Do you want a bunch of broken down warehouses in your backyard? Do you? I speak, I think, for almost everyone in Perryman when I say we will not like those warehouses. Only the people that don't live in Perryman would like that because it isn't their backyard. Please vote no to F002 and attend the bill so we can keep the nature. I am Gabriela Gonzalez, and that's why I think the warehouses should not be built in Perryman. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That's clearly not fair. Call your next speaker.
There are no more speakers, Mr. President.
Oh, that was a great way to end. So first of all, Shane, Alex, Matt, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening to the, 90-some speakers that we had over the last 2 evenings. I know that you will make yourself available for council members over the next week with any type of questions we may have. And I want to thank everyone for being respectful again this evening. You helped make this process go a lot faster, so I want to thank you again for that. And with that, we will conclude this public hearing. Thank you. We're going to take a short recess. Chair calls to order legislative session day 25-012. I would ask you to please stand for the pledge, followed by the opening prayer by Councilmember Riley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of life, the opportunity to serve the people of our county. I pray that you will guide our council as they meet and discuss matters with regard to our county. I pray that their motivation and everything that they want to do is for the good of the public and not their own. I pray that we'll be able to solve our county's problems, make good policies that might address them. Help us to be competent and excellence in our governance. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint, and give us a spirit of service. Is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I was waiting on Tony to stand up. Agenda number 4, presentation of proclamations, April 2025, Fair Housing Month. Ms. Sottles, you want to join me down front? Ms. Rollicutt?
Whereas April 2025 marks the 57th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, familiar status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens, and whereas the Harford County Association of Realtors is committed to highlight the Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 by continuing to address discrimination in the community to support programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities and to plan partnership efforts with their organizations to help assure every American of their right to fair housing. Now, therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 8th day of April 2025, do hereby salute Fair Housing Month, April 2025, which begins a year-long commemoration of the U.S. Fair Housing Law in Harford County and urges all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize the celebration throughout the year.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for being here this evening. As a fellow real estate agent, this is such an important month, and I'm happy to present you with this proclamation on behalf of the council. Thank you.
Awesome. And we also want to thank you for all of your efforts in trying to help assure that everyone has an opportunity for fair housing. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you that, and you can, absolutely.
Good evening. This is Veronica Rollicott. I'm so
You okay? Okay, I'm so sorry. This is Veronica Rollicott. She is our CEO of Harford County Association of Realtors. And I'm Paula Diggs-Smith. I am President-elect and the Chairman of the IDEA Committee. Thank you, Council President Vincenti, and members of the council for inviting us, the association, this evening. As mentioned, April is National Fair Housing Month, and the association over the years has invited school-aged children from across Harford County to participate in a fair housing poster contest. This year's theme is Everyone Deserves a Home. And all participating students are being recognized for their efforts. So this evening we had 10 finalists for 2025 who ended up going home because we ran a little late, just a little, in the school tomorrow. But I have all their names, and I will read their names.
You can enter them for the record if you
Yeah, okay, I'll enter them for the record. So there was Kate McEwen, Misha Refilov, Ella Burgess, Madeline Tyndall, Estelle Brockmeyer, Alexander Huber, Josiah Surgeon, Alana Hood, Niall Lewis Shakar, Mel Lewis Shakar, and that was that. So on behalf of the Harford County Association of Realtors, I would like to thank the Harford County Council for recognizing the significance of fair housing in our community. Thank you very much. My CEO.
I'm going to have the four of you switch this way just a little bit, please. Is that enough? Yes, that's great. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. I saw it. He's excited.
You can't leave me yet.
So also, Ms. Hassler, for National Library Week, if you could come forward, please. Oh, everyone, yes. Yes, bring your posse.
Where's the dog?
They will make an appearance, and Ivo has a little sister now. Espresso.
Espresso. I like it. I got to read now.
Yes.
Whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can explore new ideas and be drawn to new possibilities. And whereas libraries serve as vibrant community hubs connecting people with knowledge, technology, and resources while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and lifelong learning. And whereas libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. And whereas libraries empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. Now, therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 8th day of April 2025, do hereby salute April 6th through April 12th, 2025, National Library Week. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit their library, explore its resources, and celebrate all the ways that libraries draw us together as a community.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, and everyone for being here tonight. As we all know, the libraries serve such an important part to our community, and my children love it. All the special play areas and things to do. And then the Passport program is also wonderful. So thank you for everything, and I look forward to getting out to the library this week.
That's awesome. All right.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much. Let me introduce two very special folks who are with me tonight. Leslie Greenlee-Smith is our Director of Marketing and Communications. We also have Jennifer Button, who's our Executive Administrator, and my right-hand person who keeps me straight and these days is very challenging. And I want to thank all of you. I really would love to invite all of you up to have a photo with us because libraries are your communities. You know, we're just the people that are here that you get to see, but you are the ones who email me, walk into the branches, come through virtually, and really pay attention to what we're doing and tell me what we do right, and you also tell me what we don't do right. But we appreciate that because we really do feel we are here to support you, to provide an environment where you feel safe, an environment where you can come and learn and explore and play. And yes, get your passport done. We're really nice to you and we let you pick what photo you want. And we will also expedite it for you. Those of you who have delayed getting yours, we will help you do that. Libraries are under siege right now in many different levels, whether it's federally with funding that's being disrupted or any of the challenges that are going on. But I have to say, my heart is full, not here in Harford County. You guys love your libraries. We love you, and we are here to serve. And exciting news, our 80th anniversary kicks off June 30th of this year, so stay tuned for a lot of special events and activities that you'll all be invited to. Thank you.
Awesome.
This way, this time. Okay, not quite as much. All right. And then,
I think Mary was serious when she said she would like to have others come up. So if any of you in the audience would like to step up and get your picture taken with the library folks.
Really, truly.
Yes, there you go, Chris.
He was clapping.
Come on, John.
Bob Tibbs, come on up.
Really,
John, come on.
really, you're why we do what we do. And go to the serious.
You got all Glenville right here.
all right, perfect. Oh, I can see everybody. Oh. All right.
I could read again.
All right. Awesome. All right, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Shoot him down. He swells up every now and then.
Agenda number 5, consideration of petitions, applications, appointments, and nominations. We have none. 6, special presentations. This evening, we were going to hear from the Miracle League of Harford County. Unfortunately, because of the public hearing, they rescheduled for May the 6th, but they wanted me to remind everyone that opening day is this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Miracle League Field. So awesome, awesome facility. Agenda number 7, approval of minutes, public hearing, April 1st, 2025, legislative day 25-011, April 1st, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no corrections, the minutes stand approved. 8, introduction and consideration of resolutions. Resolution 00425, Master Water and Sewer Plan Update, Spring 2025. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 004-25.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. It's moved and seconded to approve Resolution 00425. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mrs. Robert?
Aye.
Mr. Giordano?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilsottle? Aye. Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 vacant, Resolution 00425 is hereby approved. Agenda 9, introduction of bills, none. 10, introduction and consideration of amendments, none. 11, call for final reading of bills, none. 12, enrollment of bills, none. 13, unfinished business, none. 14, new business. Notice of scheduled special legislative session day. Good Lord, it's been a long day. April 22nd, 2025. The council will be holding a special legislative session for the purpose of considering Bill 25-002, Comprehensive Zoning, Bill 25-004, Water and Sewer Rate Revisions, consideration of Republican Central Committee Council District B nominees, and then the oath of office, Council District B. The session is scheduled for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. in these council chambers. We'll move on to 17, comments and input from attending citizens. Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
You have one, Mr. President, Chris Schultz.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Chris Scholes, 1813 Glenville Road. I live in downtown Glenville, and all my friends had yellow hats on, and my other friends had blue hats on, but I can't talk about those things. So I'll invite you to my farm, which should be blooming for the month of May, St. John Peonies on Glenville Road, and I'll tell you, you guys do a fantastic job of listening to everybody. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, John. Or Chris, listen to me, John, same thing, St. John. Oh, Lord. It has been a long day. That's the only speaker?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right, so 16 business from council members. Mr. Bennett.
Hello, good evening. It's good to be with everybody. And thinking about Library Week, I just wanted to share, for my wife and I, it's been really nice during our paternity-maternity leave to walk to our local library from our house. It was the first place Ada ever went besides our home or the hospital. And so we've checked out about 8 books with her in the past 5 weeks. And thinking about the programming that you all offer for babies, Abby and I were really struck by, where else can we meet young families without spending money? How else could we build our community if we didn't have a library in our neighborhood? So I really appreciate what you all do, but I also think the time is now for us to actually, instead of certificates, hand out checks. We need to pay for our libraries. We need to give you the money and resources you need to pay your workers a respectable wage. And to make sure that, one day we could be open 7 days a week again, have early morning time for people to go before school. Those are the things that matter to our community. So I want you to know, I love giving you a proclamation, but beyond a proclamation, I want us to be able to make our libraries what they deserve to be for our community. I did get to attend the Women's Voices in American Poetry event with the Havre Grace Arts Collective this past week. Which was a lot of fun, and it's a yearly event, and it's just really awesome to hear these powerful women in our community stand up and share poetry from American history from many great writers. And this year it was really cool. The student member of the Board of Education performed, and I was very impressed by her being up on that stage. And Christopher Providence, who puts that on each year, does a great job. It's always a beautiful show. You already mentioned the Miracle League opening day, but I want to make sure everybody knows that Harford TV is hosting their Facing Addiction community discussion on April 10th at 6 p.m., and that will be in the Opera House in Havre de Grace. I went last year and learned so much, and I was able to get Narcan that we can store in our car in case there's ever someone in an emergency near us. But I really encourage anyone to attend that event to learn about family impact of addiction and how you can do more to help the community. Anyway, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Ms. Sottles?
Thank you. I actually had the opportunity to visit the St. John Peony Farm last year. It was absolutely beautiful, and I recommend it. Really good photo ops. I have had the opportunity to meet and complete interviews with all 3 candidates for District B. I look forward to learning more about them as we go through the process. We've also been having meetings regarding the comprehensive planning and zoning issues within this district and throughout the county. And tonight, my aide, Tara, is attending the Celebration of Excellence in Education for Harford County Public Schools. And I will be attending the Klein's 100th anniversary this Thursday. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Alves. Mr. Riley?
Yes, the only thing I have is my boss is back tonight, so let's keep it short so I can see her. I haven't seen her in 90 days.
All right, Mr. Giangiordano?
Yeah, it's because he's been busy. But, I love the library. Used to go, when I was a kid, Bel Air Library, and read all the car magazines because I couldn't afford them all. So I probably used to go and read like maybe 6 or 7 or 8 every month. Couldn't wait for them to come out and just dream about, I'm going to own this car, I'm going to own that car. And then when I had to write a resume, I certainly went to the library and had them help me write a resume because I had no clue how to write one. So, like you said, there are a lot of good uses for the library. And I was actually there this Sunday filming for library, and I had a great time. And I think they did a couple scenes, so we'll see what happens with that. But that was certainly enjoyable. And I do love going every year and reading to the kids. That's probably one of the best and most fun things is to sit there and see those kids just listen to you and look at that and when you're reading. So thanks for including me with that. This Saturday at Das Beer House at 10 o'clock, they're going to do Walk a Mile in Their Shoes for SARC. So if anybody gets a chance, make sure you come out to that. Today I did lunch for CPWN. I've been a member there. I've been a member of Chesapeake Professional Women's Network for 12 years, believe it or not. Karen Holt was the guest speaker today for economic development, and she did a good job, so we talked about that. And then, finally, I'm a little bit, the other thing is, I'm trying to find out about the Patriot programs, if they're having them. Some of those schools I haven't heard back from yet, and I know I spoke at the, where did I speak?
Board of Education.
Board of Education, thank you, Jacob, about that. And I thought they were going to continue doing it, but I haven't heard anything. And now Maryland just passed a bill that it's going to be one of the biggest shifts in policy education we've seen in years. It hasn't been approved yet or signed into law, but it does officially transfers the curriculum control from local school boards to the state, specifically to an unelected board appointed by the governor. So really concerned, really pissed off about this. I hope that doesn't come to fruition, but certainly opposing that. I've heard from a lot of people and brought to my attention, so I wanted to make sure I spoke about that. And I'll probably be at the school board meeting on Monday. So I think that's it, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giangiordano. Ms. Robert?
Yes, thank you. So last Wednesday, I was invited by the whole Epic Center shopping center, and they wanted to give me a tour. It was a beautiful experience. I think all of them were crying while they were telling their stories about how the Epic Center started and what they provide. I went to Choose Hope Women's Center, then down to Tabitha's house. Highly recommend. That was some nice jewelry and nice things. I said I'll be back. Then we went to the Maryland Food Bank Pantry, and then ended at Extreme Family Outreach, in which I thought it was beautiful. I called them the Power Strip, and now they're using that as the term. And they have some great ideas coming that will also bring some endeavors into the community. So I love that. And I also met with Sean Krause from the ARC, and they all gave me a great warm welcoming, and we had some great discussions and some ideas for their nonprofit. I learned a lot about public works with Mr. Seamack, and I learned that we have the best water ever. We won an award. Learn something new every day. And so that was an interesting experience. I got to learn a lot about public works. And then this past Sunday, Edgewood had its first farmers market. It's going to be the first Sunday of every month until November at the American Legion, and it's off Edgewood Road. And so, except for June, I think it's the second Sunday because of parameters. So I invite everyone to attend. It had everything from vegetable to flowers to baked goods. So a good experience for our community. I attended our local CAB meeting last night, updated the community. We always have like a good 50 people in attendance at our CAB meeting. And then finally, if you want to hear me speak, I will be speaking at the addiction educational event on Thursday as a panelist.
Very nice. Thank you, Ms. Robert. We'll move on to business from the president. As you heard Ms. Sottles say, council members are doing their interviews right now for the candidates to fill the District B seat. Ms. Imhoff, Mr. Xavier, and Mr. English have been so kind to make themselves available to all of us. I've had an opportunity to interview both of them, or all three of them twice. So looking forward to having them come and sit with us next Tuesday night and give us a little bit of insight to who they are so that the district can see and hear them for themselves prior to the appointment on the 22nd. So, and then also today, the Health Officer Search Committee met, and it's amazing to me that we were able to whittle down from 108 to 71 qualified, and then down from 71 today, we've narrowed it down to a field of 7 individuals. And we're going to be making appointments for those individuals to come in person, if possible, to interview. If not, we'll do it virtually. But I appreciate the efforts of the committee. They've all done an outstanding job, taking the time needed to go through the resumes. We had an outstanding pool to draw from, so I'm looking forward to that. And then hopefully this week, if any amendments are coming forward, hopefully we'll get those done for the comp zoning bill and have them ready for introduction on the 15th and voted on the 15th, so that we can move this comp zoning piece on the 22nd. So with that, I want to thank everyone for their time, and we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.